Okay. Do I need to make this any louder by any chance? Okay. I am pretty certain this is good. My voice fluctuates quite a bit, so if the mic peaks, I am already so sorry. Anyway, hello there. I'm gonna be very real with you. I have no idea what to do with this video. I mean, it's another rambling video, so I never know what to do with them anyway. But I figured that because I'm gonna release a video pretty soon, I have no idea when I'm going to release this one specifically, but the one I am thinking of is unmonetizable, and I thought, you know what, let's have one that actually gives me money alongside it, just to compensate over it for a little bit. So, I am pretty sure that the thumbnail is going to be all about the 10th anniversary stream, but to be honest, this video is going to be more about my relationship with Undertale over the 10 years in general. So, we're not just going to talk about the stream, mostly because I am late as hell. I don't know how many minutes are already passed, so I'm just going to make sure that the first 30 seconds do not have me swearing. YouTube Live, great. I'm already losing myself a little bit because I've been thinking about making this video for a while, and the reason why I waited a little bit before doing it, but like really late, I think it's been like 3 weeks by the time I'm recording this, and the main reason was just because I was feeling a little doo-doo about it, so I didn't feel like recording it right away. But also because I meant to record a speed paint of like both the drawing of the what I'm just gonna call the Sans baby girl pose and the Sans tutorial sleeping position, but my dumbass just forgot, and so I was like in a bit of a frozen stasis of like, oh, what the fuck am I going to now show as a speed paint alongside this? So I just waited, I just did other stuff, and now you have like I think I counted like 7 different speed paints going on. I don't know if I'm going to show all of them. I'm probably going to skip all the sketching process in the beginning. So I hope you're enjoying that. What is going to be the GIF that's going to accompany it? The little dance? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to put Spamton again. Maybe I'm going to do something myself. Who knows? Depends how productive I am. Which, let's be real here, is not a lot. Anyway, so this video is gonna be a little all over the place, but it's also gonna be structured. So the first thing I want to talk about is my relationship with Undertale specifically, personally, just so to justify that this is not just about the stream. The second part is obviously gonna be about the stream, and the third bit is a bit of a small thing I started seeing, but I'm pretty sure has calmed down, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway because it's near dear to my heart. So, let's start with something, I guess. So, let's go all over my personal relationship with Undertale. So, first things first. My brain just literally blanked. What was I gonna talk about? So, Undertale. Fun game, right? It's been 10 years. So, where was I when it first came out? Well, to put it very bluntly, the way that I got into Undertale was kind of not the way I think a lot of people got into Undertale. Like most people, well, okay, maybe not most people, but a good chunk know Toby Fox from things like Homestuck or the ROM hacks of Earthbound. There's a bunch of different things that people got into it. Some people already got into the Kickstarter. To put it very mildly, I was very web illiterate up until I was, I think, the age of 17. That age is important, we'll get to that. But to essentially summarize my online experience is that when I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 9 or something, I started getting a little bit into like the website stuff. And that was mostly for like, are there any Germans in the chat? Because, in the comments that can like confirm the website that used to exist for like Togolino and stuff. That's the stuff that I was in, and that was mostly just to, spend some time away from the TV. I used to be so addicted to watching TV, and to be honest, it has not changed much. It just transferred into a different screen, basically. But I used to have this problem where I would be on the TV watching like the entire day. Like after school, I would always go to TV immediately and just do literally nothing else. Like, what is homework? Who cares? Who gives a shit, right? So I would go to the dad instead, and my mom and dad were trying to get me to like have some more educational time to spend on. So they got me to like be on these websites that were like child friendly, and it's kind of weird to see nowadays that this basically doesn't exist anymore. Like maybe there is like some alternative that I am just not aware of. Maybe there are some other websites nowadays for kids, but right now, as far as I'm seeing, everyone is on TikTok, everyone is on Instagram, everyone is on fucking Twitter, which I am begging you, if you're listening and you're 10 years old, please stay off Twitter. I don't care how edgy you think you are or how well you can handle what's going on there. Just please trust me. No one's well adjusted if they grow up with Twitter. It's just not a good idea. But to get my point across, even though Twitter and stuff had already existed at this point, like when was it created? Was 20? Was it before YouTube or in 25 or was it a little earlier? I actually don't know, but it was like somewhat around the same time, right? Things like this have existed. iPhones have existed, but I was so illiterate with this kind of stuff that I was just not in that sphere. So most of the time, if I was online, it either would be on these kiddie sites or when I started to grow up a little bit further than that, I was mostly either A, on YouTube, or B, on like some random ass, probably virus infested website to like watch anime and stuff. Fun story about that actually. I didn't actually get into anime properly until I was in middle school. Before that, I like watched episodes of Naruto on exclusively YouTube, and Naruto was only something that I knew because of my brother. But I actually don't remember how my brother got into it. Like he was a little bit more in line with things like 9gag and all that. Anybody remember 9gag? That was a time. Not for me. So he was very much into the online sphere, and he introduced me a little bit into Naruto. I remember I had like a bunch of drawings of like pencils and stuff when doing Naruto stuff. I should not have been watching when I was 8 years old. That shit is not for kids, but who cares? At this point, what is even age restriction at this point? I don't think anybody cared. So I was mostly either on these two sides. There was maybe a little phase where I was a little bit into Club Penguin. Puck Penguin. What the fuck is that? A little bit on that, and literally the only thing I remember from it is like that one karate or something mini game, and the fact that I lost a lot of pets that just kept on running away because obviously my parents wouldn't let me be on the computer every single day and every single hour, so of course I'm gonna lose my pets at some point, so that got me a little sad. But anyway, so for the longest time, I wasn't really online, and going back a little bit for this funny anime story, I was mostly bonding with my best friend over Avatar: The Last Airbender, and because we were bonding over that, I told her about Naruto because that was the most similar thing I could think of, and then she I don't know exactly the time period of when this happened, but I told her about it, and then I think it was like a week later. In my mind, it's like the next day, but it's realistically it was probably the next week later. But the next week or something, whatever. The next time we talked about stuff again, she got into anime so hard with like 10 to 20 different things. She got me into SAO. She got me into Nikki. She got me into like a bunch of other stuff that are like very niche that. Some of it I kind of wish I could erase from my memory, but that's just what happens when you get into anime with 12 years old. You do not give a shit. You do not question certain things. You do not question certain art styles as to why certain characters are drawn a certain way. You just don't question it. And some of it was very stimulating, not gonna lie, as a kid. You do not understand for a long time why this was maybe not the best idea, but we'll put that aside for now. To put it bluntly, my main source of online community, so to say, or experience was mostly YouTube or sketchy websites. There was no in between. It was just these two. around that time, I started to get more into the idea of wanting to draw. And I have this very specific memory of how I started wanting to get better at drawing, which is still the funniest story for me. I was always drawing, pretty much from when I was a little kid, and both me and my brother really loved to draw. But there was, when I started to get into anime, I started to really like this specific art style that was shown to me. Not the bug eyes that sometimes are in anime. That specifically, to this day, I don't like. But there was just a certain aesthetic to a certain anime that I really like. Things like Full Metal Alchemist and stuff that I really, really dug. And I was like, I want to draw like this. And so one day I was in just on a sofa in a wood cabin that we had rented for the mountains. Yes, I know, white girl, whatever. And just sitting there and just drawing and trying to draw an OC of mine. And I don't know what happened, but it was like someone like took off the a filter of a phone. Then you know how there's like filters that do like AI generated stuff or something to make it seem like prettier than it is. Something in my brain just turned that off randomly, and it, for some reason, suddenly I was like super aware how shit it looked. It was so funny. Like I felt extremely offended at how bad it was looking. Like it was like the first time I really noticed, oh I suck at this. And you know, some people would maybe just give up at that point. I certainly would have normally, like when it came to like playing piano. Like we have still a giant ass piano in the living room, have not touched that in quite a while. Yeah, so normally, like a lot of people, I would just give up at this point. Oh wait, I'm not good at this right off the bat. What the hell? Well, this is not fair. Why am I not just born as Picasso? What the hell? But this was the one time where I was like, fuck this paper. Fuck this drawing. I'm going to come back to this one day and make this a masterpiece. I was genuinely just so pissed and filled with spite that I just started learning how to draw because of that. It's so funny to recall how genuinely angry I was at that, and that just spiraled into, you know, today. It's so funny. So that's how I got into drawing, and this is going to be important for Undertale. I know this is like a massive tangent, but I need to have enough time to spend so I can like fit in all the speed paints for this video, so you're just gonna have to just walk with me on this. Anyway, so I was drawing a lot, and I was starting to get better after a while, and I don't remember at what age it was, but I remember my best friend introduced me on the concept of digital drawing at some point. And like a drawing tablet and stuff. And I think I was 13, 14-ish, something like that. Yeah, something in that area where I got my first drawing tablet, like a really shit Wacom thing, you know, the one that's not like a screen tablet. It's like one that you have to like draw in front of you like separately, but you have to look at the screen in order to see what the hell you're doing on it, right? Which, can I just say, what an odd experience, right? Like, this is like something very normal when you're like using the mouse or something. Like, you're moving the mouse on like the ground or something, and then look at the screen on top, and that's like a normal experience. Like just walking around, not walking around, like moving around with your hand just to click on stuff. But for drawing, it's like you basically have to just trust. You basically have to like disconnect a little bit mentally on what's going on the table to what's going on the screen, and just be okay with that. When it's such a different experience when you do traditionally, where you have to like, you know, crimp over your paper to figure out how to draw this, it's like it is such a different experience. And I remember it took me a while to really get the hang of it, and to be honest, I didn't get a hang of it even by the time I finally got like a screen tablet, which thank God. So I started drawing on something that was still called Manga Studio 3 at the time. And this is important because this was the first time I was drawing something and then wanted to also post it online. At the time, I was watching Markiplier a lot, and I remember one of the first drawings, fan art I did, was of Markiplier and what was it called? Tiny Tim. It was just this one bread or something. I don't remember what it was actually. No, wait, it was a box. I think maybe it was a box. I haven't watched him in a long time, so it's been a hot minute. But comment below if you remember Tiny Tim. Oh, maybe it was called something else. I don't know. Anyway, there was this one. I never posted the one I'm just talking about. I never posted it, but there was this anniversary supposed to come up of like 10 years of Markiplier or something, and I wanted to draw something, and I remember liking the drawing a lot because it was around a time where one of his friends sadly had taken his life, and I remember wanting to do like a tribute to that a little bit because I felt like it was, of course, very important. Hindsight, I don't know if it was necessarily entirely appropriate, but the sentiment, the intention was there. That 10-year event ended up never happening. I don't know what happened, but it was like, it just never happened. But the important thing is that this was the first time I opened an account called Imgur. Or Imgur. I do not know how to pronounce that. And that was the first time I had an actual art account in a way. Except I used it literally just twice. One for this and the second for something Undertale, which I'll get to in a second. But it's funny that it was like the first time I ever like posted something online and just never used it ever again from then on. I was still stuck on YouTube. I was still stuck on like the sketchy sites for anime, and in terms of like online stuff, it was just nothing happening. And if something was happening, like if I was watching Markiplier stuff or watching an anime, what I would literally do, and you are so valid for laughing at me for this, but instead of like having a social media properly, I would open Google and then look up a thing I'm interested in and add meme to it. And that's how I would look up memes to like share with my friends or something. Friends that also do not give a shit about that. So they were mostly just for me. And I don't know. Sometimes there would also be really fun drawings. Some of them were not fun drawings. Some of them were drawings that I certainly shouldn't have seen at the age I did. So that that's the risk of Googling things by yourself. Thank God I had a laptop by the time I turned 14, because if I had to search all of this up still on my family's computer, I don't think I would own a computer today, if I'm gonna be honest. Anyway, so picture this. We are in 2015, and I am now in high school. I'm still drawing away and doing fucking nothing with that one Imgur account I had. And this was around the time I think I got into Markiplier the most, because this was when I was in high school and had no friends. I know this is not exactly an original kind of backstory for someone who's like an Undertale nerd necessarily, but I remember very specifically the reason why I was alone, and part of it has to do with my neurodivergence. I'm very difficult to get into groups, and this high school that I was in, I explained it in the past, but the Swiss education system is a little confusing because it's a bit different depending on what county you're in. And to summarize it, in some counties, it is more normal to go through primary and middle school, and then you go to a specialized high school alongside with a job you apply to. So you get like a training alongside of an actual job, if that makes any sense. I've never done that. So I obviously felt not ready to go anywhere at all, and there was like a little phase that because I was drawing a lot, me and my parents thought that, who knows, maybe we could like get into architecture, and then we knew someone who was into architecture, and everything she told me about architecture made me not want to be an architect, so that was thrown out immediately. So in order to get like more time, we decided that I should go into another county where high school was basically mandatory, but it wasn't quite the high school of that my brother, for example, went to. There was like a specialized thing. I went into high school that's technically called a gymnasium, which sounds so fancy, but it was basically a private school. And a private school was a combination of a middle school and a high school, essentially. So, of course, there were a lot of people that were already in groups. So that already, as someone who's neurodivergent, was not gonna have a lot of, not gonna have a lot of luck when it comes to socializing. Like, some kids tried to get close to me, but it was just difficult. And another part of it was also because at the time I was going through a bit of an existential crisis, so to say. Not to get too much into like dirty laundry of like 12 years or something like that. That's just not worth getting too much into. But to summarize a very, very long story short, I had a crush in middle school that I liked a lot, and I wanted to try to get over this crush after I found out he had a girlfriend. So I was trying to like think of like, oh, he's definitely like a bad person or something, or secretly or something. He's not like how I have it in my head, which, to be fair, I didn't. This is a good assessment to make normally. But there was a specific moment I remember where he like stood up to me. Well, not to me, but stood up to someone for me. When he really didn't have to for something. And I remember that stuck with me quite a bit because it really clocked into my head that, no, this guy is not bad. It's me. Like, I'm the bad person in this. And I know this is like a bit of a joke going around, like, oh, the itchy teenager thinking that they're like terrible and that there's like a great darkness in them. But when you're a kid, like, it gets to you, you know, like the realization that you're not entirely a good person, that feeling just gets to you very strongly. And I remember it was really difficult to get over it. So in high school, to be fair, I feel like it was more of an excuse, so I don't have to get myself vulnerable, but or to just get myself to be with people. But I rationalized in my head that I'm not a good person, so I shouldn't have friends anyway. If I have friends, they're gonna know how bad of a person I am or something. It's a bit of a cringy kind of thing. I'm sure some people are crunching with their faces already, but I'm pretty sure a lot of teenagers can relate to that. It's just, when you have this paradigm shift of how you perceive yourself, it's not easy to deal with, I think, especially when you're like young and stuff. So yeah, I didn't really have friends to cut it very short, and so I was mostly occupied with just being online a lot, and I felt just extremely lonely in general, and started to go into a very unfortunate pipeline, of course, that a lot of people I think did online, where there were like so many right-wing dog whistles almost going on. And specifically about like feminism getting dunked or getting exposed, or ooh, cringe progressives and all that. And I will admit, some of it I did caught up in and believe some things that I really shouldn't have. But at the same time, I'm not gonna blame myself too much for this phase. Not that I like threw around slurs or something. Like at worst, it was like the ableism thing. But at best, that's like the furthest it went. Thank God. And I don't want to think I was too bigoted, but it was definitely uneducated. And this is important to bring up because I think it is difficult to sometimes admit to that to yourself, and I think it's important to bring up, especially when it comes to talking about what Undertale did for a lot of people. So, we're in 2015, I'm in my second year of high school, and I am miserable and just not really happy, and so I'm just clinging to things like Markiplier and all that. One day, I'm not sure where I saw that, in what video it was said, but I have this very vivid memory of going into the comment section. In this comment, it basically went, hey, you should play blank. You can probably guess what it is, but just ignore that for a second. You should play blank and try to play it as blind as possible, because the game is about you going through the underground, and something particular about this game is that it remembers your choices and is different in every subsequent playthrough. And when I heard that, when I read that, I remember it was like, I wasn't actively thinking about it. I wasn't seeking it out, evidently by the fact that I didn't even remember, I can't even recall that the name was uttered in that actual comment for some reason. But I remember that description really stuck with me. And I don't know if this was after September 15th, or if this was like recent-ish, or if this was like a little bit before, if it was like still when the demo came out or something. I don't recall it well. I just know that when Markiplier finally posted the first stream episode of it, which, by the way, fantastic thumbnail. The instant I saw Papyrus on the thumbnail there with his big goggly eyes, I was just immediately in love. This was gonna be special. I just knew it. I just felt it in my bones. This was gonna be special. And while I was watching it, I was starting to recall that this is what the comment was talking about. And so I was watching Markiplier play through Undertale, the first 2 episodes. I actually don't remember the playthrough all that much. I just remember him stopping at Snowden and then just excitedly waiting, like, oh my god, this is really nice. Like, I already like Toriel. I like how quirky this game is. Sans Force, at the time, I hadn't quite a big opinion on, I think. I mean, his introduction, perfect, flawless, absolutely no notes on that. But, you know, at the time, at the start, you don't really assume much of him, so I don't think I cared too much about him just yet. Papyrus, he had my heart pretty much the very instant, and I needed to know what other shenanigans were happening with him. He I just needed more. But, obviously, Markiplier, at some point, stopped playing it. And so, before he even said as to why, I got a little impatient and decided, okay, who can I else watch? And I remember from my best friend that she told me that she was watching Jacksepticeye. So I thought, yeah, let's see if Jacksepticeye started playing it. And oh, Lord and behold, he did. So I just started watching him instead. God, that whole playthrough, a lot of the voices are still ingrained in how I like to voice them in my personal Let's Plays. Like, how he voices Undyne is still incredibly ingrained into my subconscious. It's just stuck like that. And God, I would always get so excited every time there was a new episode that he would show, and every time he was done, I would like watch other people play it. It was a magical time. So, this is, however, not when I completely got invested into Undertale just yet. Remember, I was just only on YouTube, on sketchy websites for anime, and that one random Imgur account I had for, like, one drawing. So, I didn't really see anything else related to Undertale at the time. So, as one does, I went again to Google to search up the stuff X meme. So in this case, it would be Undertale memes or something. And of course, one of the first things I noticed pretty much right off the bat is the amount of fan art that there was, and fan comics in particular. That was even more important to me, that there were so many like skits and comics that I saw. And I remember that was being a very big motivator, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a specific fan art I saw. Because the very first result, I swear to God, it was like one of the first ones I saw, was of the last corridor. And it was Sans with a bunch of bones surrounding him with, like, of course, the Gaster Blasters, which I didn't realize were Gaster Blasters at the time. And I kid you not, when I was staring at that, I thought this was, like, a fan concept. Because, obviously, when you play the Pacifist run, you don't fight Sans at all. So I thought, like, oh, maybe someone, like, wanted him to be, like, a boss or something. So I thought this was, like, a fan concept or something. I can't tell you the exact order of how I discovered which and what exactly when. But, I think if I had to guess what came first, I think what I first saw was the death of Papyrus, like the clip of us actually killing him. And then I think I found the clip of Sans' actual fight. And oh my god, guys, this is when I fell in love with the game incredibly so. That there was no return after that. And and of course, immediately once Jacksepticeye started to actually play the Chara-Run, I watched all of that, and this was definitely when the game became extremely special to me. Now, I want you to understand that you can play Undertale Pacifist completely fine and then never go back to it. I think you can even play the neutral runs once, like one of them, and be completely satisfied. But the Chara-Run, what it does, specifically for Sans as well, I mean, if you see my videos, you know I'm fucking obsessed with him, but what it does is basically, it rounds up everything around the world building in a way that it just completes it in a way you didn't realize it needed to. If that makes any sense, because the concept of like saving is being brought up. You're so curious about what Sans meant with like a threat and stuff, so it's always in the back of your mind, wait, what else is there to him? And there's also, of course, Flowey, where there's so many questions you still have in your mind. And the Chara-Run is like so specific to the player experience, where it just sucks you in so much. And I love that there is even a moment in the Flowey monologue where it calls out the people watching. That is such... Just being called out in the middle of watching something is still an experience I don't think I will ever forget. It is magnificent. So, it was only, I think, after watching all of that and going back on Google where I noticed that a lot of things that were posted about Undertale were, of course, on Tumblr. So, I opened a Tumblr account and started posting things on there. Many years later, I would also do a DeviantArt account, but I didn't really do much with DeviantArt, to be honest. So, I was majority-wise on Tumblr. And that's where really I started to really draw, I started to really post, I started to really get into fandom stuff, and I'm still really grateful for it. And God, it was just a magical time for me. That being said, 3 years pass. It's 2018, and God, I finally started to get in the process of graduating from high school, and it was around that time where I mean my brother, started to urge to maybe get into other things that artistically and maybe expand my horizon a little bit outside of like fandom stuff. Like I remember I was like trying to prove him, hey, I don't do just Undertale stuff. Here's a Bendy and the Ink Machine realistic drawing of like the one girl character that I don't remember now. I'm so sorry. Was she just called Angel or something? I don't remember. Anyway, I remember showing that and he was like, still, nah, you need to like get into like actual artistic stuff now. And it was like, I really don't want to throw him under the bus, but it's so funny to think back on how much he urged me to like get away from Undertale stuff, and then years later he's so invested into Monster Hunter that he can actually get a career out of it. So yeah, fucking hypocrite. I'm still petty about that, my God. But anyway, it wasn't just him, but obviously that was like a huge influence where it's like, I should probably do like my own stuff and, you know, start to get a little bit away from Undertale. So, I think it was after I graduated where I started to try to get into more OC stuff, to just do a bit more original stuff here and there. Not really engaging myself too much with the fandom stuff anymore intentionally, just intentionally get myself away from it, which is hilarious. Because around the time I was doing that, Deltarune Chapter 1 came out. So it was like the universe was trying to tell me, no, you're not done yet. Come back. Come right back here. This was around the time I was already on Twitter. Funny story on that, actually. Which you can decide for yourself if that was a good idea or not. At the time, I was still watching things like from PewDiePie. We can all mourn the little Sarah who was just watching this innocently, not realizing that maybe some of the stuff that were uttered were maybe not the most appropriate thing in the world. But whatever, we don't talk about that. I just noticed a lot, especially during the, let's call it the Logan incident, that a lot of things that get discussed are on Twitter first. And so I thought, hey, it would be probably nice if I got like some dips on like certain gossip or something if I was already on Twitter. So I made a Twitter account at January 2018. Not the same one I'm using now. That one's a private account now. But this was basically the first time I was on Twitter, and I'm so glad I did this exactly that year because I got to see the Gaster tweets. I wasn't trying to get too much into Undertale on Twitter. I don't remember. I think I was specifically trying not to like too many things on it to like make sure that it wasn't too much on my feed. But obviously, it would show up, and the fucking confusion of like seeing all these tweets of like in all caps of like a blanked out name and profile like that. That one was. I remember I was just so confused. And I think then I started to see, like, I don't know if it was tweets or YouTube video thumbnails, but I started to notice, oh, wait, something came out. And I explained it in my Sans Rambling video, but I was at first not going to play it or something because first of all, I wasn't even playing Undertale. I was mostly just watching as an outsider and getting invested without actually playing it myself because of my hands and, you know, I'm not a gamer and stuff. But then I saw that the game was actually free, that it was a demo, and then so I only watched like until I think up to Castletown or something, and then decided to immediately jump into the game myself. Yada yada yada. I figured out that the controls are shit on keyboard, but it works. Yada yada yada. I started playing Undertale. I then played Undertale like later, I think a half a year afterwards, yada yada yada. The same thing from the Rambling, it's not really that interesting. Anyway, the last thing I did as in terms of fan art about Undertale Deltarune was like this one fan animation I did of the end of chapter 1. And then afterwards, I was just kind of leaving it behind again and just passively being aware of it. Like, I still wanted to be invested in Deltarune and stuff, but I also just recognized that this is going to be a long, ongoing thing in the background, so there was no point to, like, get myself invested all the time, 24/7, like a lot of people have been. So I was just on the lookout for it, but I was also not going to make it like my entire personality again. So I kept myself a little bit on a distance, and for 5 years. And to be honest, I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing, because it did get me to try to like get into other things, to maybe improve in other aspects. I tried to make my own webcomic, which I have abandoned a little bit. I want to get back into it, but the motivation is that we're not talking about Mirror War today. We're talking about Undertale. Undertale is the main thing here right now. We're talking about this for another day. So anyway, actually, bringing it back just a tiny bit. Cut to 2024, where, I think a little game started to come out, which is Undertale Yellow, and I think I started to hear a little bit about it already before really jumping right back into it, but it was mostly, again, just in the background. Most of the time, I was just occupied, being in my art school, where I actually tried to study, animation. And FYI, I don't know how it is in other countries, but animation schools, beware that not a lot of animation schools will actually teach you how the programs themselves work. They will teach you the fundamentals, and then you just kind of have to go out of your way yourself to really learn how to use these programs. Especially because, at least for my program, well, in terms of like school program, not the program itself, I was mostly taught to work with TV Paint as a software, except this software would just refuse to work on the laptop I was working with on either side. It just didn't want to work for me. I don't know why. The school license just did not like me. I don't know. So I couldn't really do it on my own. It will always have to be in the school computer itself instead. And the only other program that I was kind of starting to get the hang of a little bit was Blender, which is mostly used for 3D stuff. I suck at 3D stuff, so I was mostly trying to figure out how to use grease pencil, and you know, it works. It can work, but you really need to really learn to figure that shit out, because it's not very obvious. Things like After Effects and all that, I was just not taught. And it's not that the classes didn't exist for it, but you have to do them like after school. You have to like inscribe them from like servers and all that. And I don't know about you, but to me that is just very confusing. So if you want to get into animation school, beware that if you want to learn certain programs, you're probably gonna have to learn them for yourselves, because first of all, it keeps changing all the time. So if there's a certain program you want to learn and the school's just not providing you with it, just do it on your own. Ask teachers, make sure that you save some time to learn it for yourself and stuff. Don't rely on the school teaching you everything. Sometimes they just there's always going to be a blind spot for them. So just be aware of that if you are interested in getting into animation school specifically. That tangent aside, animation school is fun. It was a lot of it was the first time I was like getting myself connected with other people that are like me, but at the same time I was not exactly friends with them either. It's a bit of a difficult relationship to explain, but the best way to explain it is that they all felt like work colleagues. Like, I was friendly, they were nice, we had a nice chat whenever we had the lunch together. It was good, it was a good relationship, but it never evolved past that, colleague stage. Colleague stage. And, that's not always a bad thing, but it was certainly a bad thing when starting to work on my finals project, which, the dumb little me that I was, I, kind of by accident started to, work on it completely by myself, even though I was originally wanting to work with it in teams, but that's, that's a whole thing on me that I didn't quite get about how we were supposed to submit our original ideas and stuff. So I started working on my own, except, of course, music and stuff was done by other people. They just did a fantastic job on working with Mask Bag. I'm still kind of proud of it, but at the same time, it was so stressful. I love the storyboarding stage of it, because that's the stage that I actually like doing. I love doing storyboard and stuff, but in terms of its animation process, it was just fucking hell. It was not fun at all. Like, was it kind of satisfying in some way? Yes, and the story that was written in it was also, like, meaningful and all that, but at some point it was like, can I just go into a cave and just succumb to the universe or something? I don't think I'm ready for this. So, at the time, when I started to really dig into making this animation, I put a hiatus on the webcomic and thought I would come back to it later, but I was just so miserable, I'm not gonna lie. And it was after I pulled an all-nighter to before a certain meeting, so I could like have some work that I would procrastinate on a lot. And during a break, while I was doing this all-nighter, I went on Twitter and I saw this one meme of George Lolwat just transcribing a meme or something that was Undertale related. And if I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember how much Undertale stuff I saw on my TL, so I remember I was kind of surprised that I even caught that on my timeline, but I saw that and it was like, you know what? I feel like shit. Everything just feels miserable. I deserve one time, just one drawing that's just completely self-indulgence. I haven't drawn anything Undertale related in 5 years. I deserve one thing, okay? I deserve a freebie. So I drew that, and I don't know if you were around when you saw that, but that was alongside a Chainsaw Man drawing, the biggest hit tweet that I had done at the time, and I saw a lot of people getting really excited for it, so I thought like maybe I should like show a comparison of what it used to look like back in 2015 or 2016 actually, when the specific comic at least. And they were like, holy shit, I remember you, in the replies, and it was like, wait, you do? And I was like going back to Tumblr and seeing like the 55 measly likes that it had, and then on the Twitter it was like, almost like 20k, and it was like, where the fuck were you guys? What do you mean you recognize it? What the fuck? That was like my biggest reaction or something. It's all in good jest, but it was so funny. Like, what do you mean you remember me? Where the hell were you? So, yeah, and that's basically where I'm at right now. I started just drawing a bunch of Undertale stuff, and it gave me back this spark of life that I really needed, and now I am completely submerged in this self-indulgence completely. I even figured out how to finally make an AU that actually works somewhat. There's a little bit of problems with Frisk, but we're not gonna get into that today. And I've been able to actually do like projects that I'm proud of, specifically the Rolling Girl thing. Do not earn a single cent on that, but that doesn't matter. It's good. It's fun. Do you know how fucking satisfying it is to think like a music video in your head? It was like, man, it would be nice if it existed, and then recall that you have a fucking bachelor of an animation. Is like, wait a fucking second, and then actually do it. It is such a good feeling to have that out there. My singing is shit, but it works as for now. It is great. It just works, and I like it and love it a lot. So this is where we are now with the Undertale stuff, and I am still so incredibly grateful with how it evolved my artistic journey. And honestly, one of the funniest things to see is just the evolution of like 4 months, of the first 4 months, because if you look at Sans in particular, you could tell that I was very rusty on like interpretational stuff. Like, I didn't quite know how to make him look like. And then I think in a span of 4 months, particularly after I saw a certain animatic, maybe I'll show it on the screen, who knows, depends on how lazy I am with editing, I don't know. After that specific one, I was like, oh, I love how they draw Sans's jacket, and so I was trying to emulate it a little bit. I was just trying to not necessarily replicate it one-to-one, because at the end of the day, you don't want to just steal an art style necessarily, but I was trying to like study it a little bit and try to figure out how to do it myself. And I want to say that the way I draw Sans's jacket now is like really fun, but in general, I love how I draw Sans now a lot, because it's a weird combination, because you need to like battle with yourself, like, how canon accurate do I want them to look like, while also making them look like something that actually looks like my drawing, if that makes any sense. Like, something that actually feels like this is how I would draw him, because I think at first I was like still trying to figure out, okay, but how would Sans I even look like in my style in the first place? And I think that's how this evolution from like a little marshmallow to the slutty eye sexy Tumblr sexy man started to evolve into. And I don't know, it's really fun to see this evolution of like very little months, and I think even now you can see that there's like a little bit of improvement here and there, like even between like things like the chapter of Out of Character and how I draw him now. It's like the jacket is just a tiny bit chunkier than it was before. I have a bit of a better idea how to draw the fluff a little bit more consistently. I keep forgetting to draw his lace, like his jacket lace for some reason. That's just something that once in a while, they just disappear while drawing, which is very funny. But I try my best to remember it, but it just sometimes just goes into the void with Gaster. I don't know. But anyway, the artistic journey was definitely amplified through Undertale. There are certain things that, of course, I need to remind myself to make sure that I retrain a little bit, to get myself into Digital Circus and stuff, to like remember how to draw other things other than just Undertale stuff, and specifically Sans. And this year, I started to get a little bit less ashamed of like certain self-indulgence things. Like, I started to feel less ashamed of Soriel stuff. It's okay. This is very funny. I was drawing a lot of Soriel stuff before the chapter 4 Jitterbug scene came up, but I didn't post them because I started to see a lot of discussion around it, and I know the majority of people don't care. I know that in terms of like popularity, Soriel is actually more on the higher end of things, right? Yeah, it's like, I mean, sure, things like Spamton right now are like really high, or like Suzel, or Alpine or all these other queer relationships are fucking incest. It's like, yeah, these are definitely more dominating. But let's not kid ourselves in thinking that Soriel is mostly still well received, and that it's very much a very minor thing, a minor subgroup of people that really are like vocally hating on it. And you know, you're allowed to dislike it. And stuff, you really do not have to like it at all. If you think it's out of character for you from your perspective and interpretations, that is completely fine. But whenever you post Soriel about stuff, it feels like it's a lot more 50-50 for some reason. And at some point I just figured, nah, fuck it. I want to like draw it and just not hear anybody's person's opinion on it if I can help it. So I would draw it privately. But I don't know how to explain it, but after the Jitterbug scene, I felt like I had to, like, restore people's faith in it in some way. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I started to hammer it even more, which is funny, because in 2016 and stuff, I did ship it. I just never drew it, because I could see how the shipping side of things was just fucking miserable. And, frankly, could have been good to, like, learn my lesson and just not say anything about it, but I don't care. I'm just going to live my truth. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want and just not care. And I think that helped a little bit, because I think a lot of the Soriel artists had to, like, kind of come together and be like, okay, chapter 4, opened a fucking floodgate of the worst kinds of jokes ever. We need to do some damage control, guys, and stuff. It was, I don't know. It was fun. And I'm glad that the stream kind of mitigated that a tiny bit, but we'll get to the stream in a bit. But anyway, this year in particular, I started to be a little less ashamed of, like, personal headcanons and all that. And I still am working on, like, ideas. Like, God, guys, I have so many ideas to, like, add to Dr. Megalo. You have no idea. And also, like, video essays. I have, like, 3 different scripts for stuff that I just haven't gotten myself to properly finish. And, God, they're so... You know, it used to be very difficult for me at first to, like, come up with ideas. And now I have too many. And I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. But thank you, Toby, anyway, for rotting my brain to a point where I actually am productive. Somewhat. I don't know. This YouTube thing is still starting, and copyright is making me tear my hairs out, but it's fun. We're all having a lot of fun here. Anyway, so this is the ginormous fucking recap that is the 10 years of being an Undertale fan. So now I think it's time we talk about the 10th anniversary for a second. So, before we get into anything, I want to talk a little bit about the It's Raining Somewhere Else cover. Just a very small, tiny little bit of an insight on that. I've been wanting to make a lyrical video of one of the Undertale's tracks for a while. I mean, every single person, like, tries to figure out a lyrics for fucking Megalovania for, like, the past 10 years, and, there's actually one that I feel like is dominating so far in my mind, which is actually good. While the rest is, like, Megalovania is a very difficult song to have lyrics to, because on one side, it's, like, it has very defined melodies, but it's also, like, so fast that, it's difficult to make it sound natural and stuff, and, yeah. I remember I was trying to do lyrical videos on Megalovania, but, like, the piano version of it, and, I'm glad I privated that, because I don't think I need anybody to see that. Actually, is it privated? I'm gonna private after this video's done. I don't need anybody to see that. And one day I would actually love to actually tackle that properly, but for what it's worth, it's difficult to think of lyrics and make it sound natural. And It's Raining Somewhere Else. I don't remember when I started to think about lyrics for that, but I remember it was quite a while, even before chapter 4 drop, where I had this hook in my head where it was like, it's raining somewhere else. When it was just raining, when it was raining, fuck. When it was randomly coming to my mind while I was listening to the song, it was like, I want to make a lyrical video on that at some point, but I wasn't sure when. And then I then kind of remembered that the anniversary is coming up, and it was like, actually, you know what? This would be a good opportunity for it. So I started writing the lyrics a bit more. I meant there to be a little animation to happen. I posted the whip of it, of Sans like getting up at towards the end. But at the same time, I also figured that this was like not the main attraction of the actual video. It was supposed to be the singing and stuff. And it's very strange because singing is, I don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love to sing, but I've never been trained to sing. Like, I don't know how to belt. I don't know how to like sing from my diaphragm. I'm just singing and just hoping that it works. And it's weird that a lot of people seem to really like it, and it's weird because when I look at myself singing, when I'm like feeling myself sing, it's definitely not the way that you're supposed to sing, I feel like, professionally speaking. But it's also kind of nice to see that that's like an option to post stuff about and to potentially earn money with. Like, I don't know, something about that is like fun. And I mean, one of the reasons, for example, for me replaying Undertale over and over again is the voice acting as well. I love playing with my voice a lot, and I don't know, it's just Undertale gives us this inspiration of doing like these multi-skill things to like play around with, to do a bunch of things. Like I'm doing singing, I'm doing like silly little voices that are like sort of close to voice acting. I'm doing art, I'm doing somewhat animation, and sort of doing video essays as well, which are like 50% well received, 30%. Some people are having some questions here and there. I've never been good in like the essay department in my school, so I don't know how to feel about it when someone says like it's good, because then it feels like someone's lying. I don't know. It's a back and forth, but I do love to pull my thoughts out. And but going back a little bit to the song again, it was so strange to see how people reacted to it, and to see how many people see this now as their like favorite version of a lyrical cover of Sans. The thing that makes me the most giddy is when someone says that it's like the most in character for Sans. Like that makes me very giddy. That makes me very happy. The only unfortunate thing is that I have a very female voice, and as funny as the trans Sans jokes are, and applying it to me for some reason, I'm not trans. I'm very happy being a girl. The only but I did kind of wish I had like a lower range voice sometimes so I could like pull off a Sans. That's like the only thing. I don't want to be a man. I just want to be Sans. That's what's that called? Transgender. The broke. I want to change my voice because I want to actually transition into a man. Woke. I want to have a deeper voice just so I can voice my favorite character. Literally no other reason. What the hell is body dysmorphia? I just want to be bone. So having that side tangent aside, it's just been, I feel like it's also the best way to give my tribute to Undertale, because first of all, as well, the video that kind of made me a little bit more known in the YouTube sphere as well is the Scene That Changed Sans video, and that has a lot to do with It's Raining Somewhere Else. So I felt like I kind of have to do something for the anniversary that has to do with that song, because it's a banger. Like, not in a banger in like the disco kind of way or like an epic kind of way, but it's a banger on my soul emotionally. And I feel like, especially after chapter 4 dropped with The Place Where It Rained, I feel like that's such a nice way to like connect all the 10 years back together and have this like massive celebration by combining these themes. Is Sans from Deltarune? Like, is Undertale Sans from Deltarune? Who knows? It could age like the worst fucking milk you have been storing in your fridge for the last 3 weeks, but who cares? I just want to do what makes me happy in my headcanons, and if it ages like milk, then so be it. I am going to drink it and have the worst food poisoning in my life and be happy about it. And I am glad I celebrated it this way, because I saw so many people doing like fan art and stuff. I was, normally for the anniversary, I just redraw that one first picture I did in 2015 of Undertale, which was like literally my first artwork, and I completely forgot to mention this in my rambling. But The reason why Imgur was important was because I posted it at first on Imgur, but then I forgot my password afterwards, and it was like, fuck, I want to actually look at my post again. How do I do this now? And then I think I did my Tumblr account so I can actually like look at it again. So then I posted it there. But I already did like an animation redraw of it, so I felt like, how am I supposed to compete with that? And I don't really particularly want to do a full-on animation, except I kind of tried to do that and it failed, but that's beside the point. Losing myself in the conversation already. It's just so cool to see how everyone is celebrating it, and of course everyone, including me, was wondering, okay, these are all great arts, these are all great contributions, these are all great ideas. What the fuck is Toby up to? So, we are, I think it was in July, it was either July or August, somewhere beginning of either of these months. But we all remember the tweet where there was of the echo flower, and we were supposed to pour our hearts out into these echo flowers to later be used for something. And I remember I was just so fucking panicking because obviously I'm in a European time zone. Whatever was going to be posted was going to be while I'm fucking asleep and dreaming about Sans boning me. But it's just not, I was just not gonna see it in the, I should not have said that. I was obviously not going to see any tweets from Mr. Toby Fox himself, right? So when I saw that finally on my timeline, it was like, oh fuck, how much time do I still have for this? So I remember haphazardly in my sleep, still in my stupor, I like added like the tiniest blue pixel on Santa's head to indicate Dr. Megalo, and then wrote something. Well, what did I write? I think I wrote something about how this game, I forgot to mention it in my rambling, but how this game opened the door for the idea of LGBTQ subjects, of normalizing queerness to me and how much it meant to me. But of course I wrote it in like such a short way because there weren't a lot of characters. I think the character limit was less than Twitter. So, you can't just ask someone to pour their heart out and then have a character limit of less like 200 or something. Like, that's so mean. So I wrote something on that line, how it made me artistically inspired and also showed me the queer side of it. And I remember looking at, after I submitted, looking at my submission, and it was like, okay, I told Toby that I like to draw and I'm gay. Fork found into the fucking kitchen. What? I need to come up with something else. So I tried to do something else and then wrote something that made a little bit more sense, ending it off with, despite everything, it's me, you know, being a little bit more cringy about that. It's such a banger line though, so you kind of have to use that. The Sans portrait was kind of shit, so I redid it on the computer where I had a bit more control, and it still looks kind of weird to me because pixel art is just not my strength, but I was happy with the submission afterwards. God, you do not understand the fucking panic that came to me, because I needed that shit to be submitted immediately. There was no way I could just ignore it like that. Anyway, that little tangent aside, so we are just waiting to figure out what the Echo Flower whole thing was about. And I think a lot of us were under the impression that there was going to be an update to Undertale. Like, I think this was like the biggest theory that a lot of us had, that the Echo Flowers would maybe be implemented into a new update of Undertale. Some people were very adamant that there was going to be a hard mode, despite it being very much deconfirmed a long time ago that Toby was just not gonna work on this anymore. But, you know, one can cope, one can dream. And who am I to destroy someone's delusions, you know? And so we were all just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with that. I kind of did think that maybe there could be an update to Undertale, but I didn't really know exactly what to expect either, and just kind of just letting myself to be surprised by whatever it could be. And I remember when it was then announced that Toby was going to make like a stream, I think a lot of people were a little disappointed, and but you know, at the same time it's like, who cares? It's like, it's supposed to be a celebration. Whether or not there's new content really shouldn't matter, especially for a 10-year-old indie game. And keep that bookmark, we're gonna have a conversation about that later. But the thing that was interesting to just wait about is just what the hell is gonna happen in that stream, right? Everyone was just waiting, wait, what's the stream gonna be about? And of course, some people thought like, oh, maybe if we get him to name it Frisk, then maybe we're gonna get the full hard mode, and then it gets updated into the full hard mode. Personally, I feel like, first of all, Frisk, I didn't really think about it at the time, but in hindsight, Frisk was never going to be picked because if there really is a hard mode, how much would it fucking suck that there is a hard mode update and then just not getting to see it in the stream because fucking Togor won instead, right? Yeah, like that just kind of sucked. And Gaster, I mean, either Gaster was just gonna be in the stream and in stream name and just would never be acknowledged ever again, or the stream would just end and we wouldn't have an anniversary stream. Those were the two options of what could happen. And of course, the third secret option that no one saw coming, or actually everyone saw coming, was that he was just not gonna be considered at all in the first place. And look, there is something extremely funny about the two finalists about it. Of like the names that could be chosen for the stream being Chara, that has so much emotional weight to it, and fucking Togor, a meme that's like spanned back all the way back from 2016 that somehow I just missed in my time on Tumblr. Somehow that just never showed up on my timeline, so I just never noticed Togor being a thing, and it just resurfaced just right before the stream, and it's hilarious. It's so funny. Yeah, I generally just wanted it to be Chara because, one, it just seemed the most likely that it would be something that Toby could talk about. Because Gaster, Toby is definitely just building up to something on Deltarune, so I didn't really see a reason why he would like bring Gaster up here right now. It just felt like it just didn't really seem like necessary. And then Frisk was like, Toby is dedicated to just never confirm literally anything about Frisk, which is why we have like a trench war about this every other month or something, and it's getting a little tiring. Not gonna lie. So of course he wasn't going to bring them up. So the main thing that was just going on was just a war between Chara and Togor. And when I saw the time that the stream was gonna happen, I knew that I was going to have to watch it afterwards, because it was like, fuck what. For me, it was like it's gonna start at 1 a.m. on both first streams, and one of them was gonna be on a Saturday, and that's usually when I like spend time with my dad overnight. So that that was just inconvenient timing for me. But by the end of the Saturday day, I felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna watch like an hour or something and see where it's going, right? So legit, when I started watching the stream, I didn't really have that many expectations as to what they could be talking about. The thing that I was mostly just thinking about is that if Chara is being voted into it, that Toby could potentially talk about them a little bit, because while Frisk and Gaster have like some intrigue into them, and there's something funny about them just not being addressed at all, Chara is the one character that seemingly isn't really relevant to Deltarune too much, so there is a possibility for them to get like addressed and be talked about a bit more. And I wasn't completely wrong, but I also wasn't completely right either. We're in this in-between state where it's like, there's definitely some stuff that was brought up about Chara, and especially with like the little chocolate that is so sweet. I really am glad that Chara is a white little child for this. It's so cute. And but also at the same time, it was mostly just an Undertale playthrough. It was they weren't just talking about Chara too much beyond that all that much, but it still meant something. And I'm glad it was, like, almost vindicated on that. And I'm also glad that it got, like, connected to, like, a charity. I did donate a total of $200 to the charity. At first I was a little scared because the bank transfer wasn't quite working, and I got a little scared about it, but then I remembered, wait, this is a weekend. Of course it's not gonna be transferred immediately, and thankfully most the money is now transferred, so that's good. It was very funny because I donated the money under, of course, voting for Chara, and it felt like a fucking drop of, like, a ginormous lake of someone who like donated what, like $3,000 in vote for Chara. I am so I find it so funny that one of the biggest theories right now was, at the time at least, was that Toby was the one to donate it just so that Chara wouldn't be left behind by Togor. And then people just got their wallets out altogether just so Togor to further win. That was so funny. I am never going to forget that. That was so funny. It is a little funny to see in the stream as to when Toby started to like start sweating a little bit throughout when he realized that Togor was winning. So I want to think that maybe some of the staff was like, okay, well, fuck, we need Chara to win, otherwise the next section is gonna be very, very awkward. So. That was cute. Toby, maybe you should have thought about that a little bit differently. Maybe you should have prepared something else in advance. I don't know. So anyway, back to how I was watching the stream properly. So I was just gonna watch the first hour or something. I was gonna watch up until the end of Ruins, because I just figured it was probably not gonna be anything new. They were just going to discuss Undertale together, which is still good, but that's something I can like watch in retrospect. It doesn't really matter that much. So imagine me just in my PJs, just barely on my bed. My duvets, my sheets and stuff were on the side or something. I was trying to use some of them as like a cushion because my actual cushion was just too thick for some reason. It wasn't too comfortable. And of course my phone was had so low battery that I had to have it charged. So I was not actually sleeping on the side I was supposed to. I was sleeping on the foot side of it instead, just lying there very uncomfortably, just trying to watch the stream just for like a single hour so I can like be functional the next day. And one thing that immediately got me excited was when I saw that the Echo Flower things were going to be shown. And so God, this was very unfortunate. I was going to start watching at 1 a.m, but then I saw on the TL, wait, they showed the Echo Flower thing. So I immediately started watching, and I was like, okay, when my submission comes up, I'm just going to take a break, take a little nap, and then come back at 1 a.m. Bad idea. I just ended up like watching the whole intro instead, and just being so goddamn sleepy throughout the entire thing. So, that was dumb of me. Like, 400,000 submissions. Why did I not get any special treatment? What the hell, Toby? Anyway, so I was watching it, very delirious, not really thinking much, and, you know, some of the stuff that we're talking about was funny. I was very happy to see, like, the ginormous Tori plush. That's always a delight to see. So I was just watching, and while they were going to the ruins, I was very much prepared to just stop the moment that they had the toy fight, and then, as we all remember, suddenly one of them decides that they needed to learn how to tie a tie, which honestly should have been an immediate sign that something was going to happen. And then... Guys, I was not exaggerating with that comic when I suddenly saw that the room was just slightly extended on the new home thing. That I just my eyes were so wide open it started to hurt, especially because of how sleepy I was. It was like I was so fucking locked in when I saw that. It was like, hold on, wait, what is this? And God, did anybody else start screaming when they went into the ruins section? And they went into the house, picked up the knife, and then just didn't go on the very clear stairs, and just walked back. That almost got me screaming, man. It was very funny, because while watching it, as much as I wanted to say that this would have been a nice update, which I would have said many times, we'll talk about that again later, but while I was watching, I already had it in my mind, we are not gonna get an update. This is not gonna be official. And this was especially confirmed after like Toby was like, oh, you know, the very small things that you see that are updated in the game, it's not, most of it like it's just not gonna be playable and stuff. And in my mind it was like, I knew it, I just wish you didn't say it out loud. That kind of thing. So of course, after seeing that, I decided, okay, fine. We'll watch until the end of Snowden instead. Because, again, I can't stay up the entire thing. But at this point, I gotta see what else there is. Especially with, like, Sensible Pirates. There's gotta be, like, more, right? So, I was just committed at this point. At this point, I just needed to, like, get through another hour. And then that's it. And... God, Toby, why did you have to have, like, the... Why did there have to be, like, the whole fucking, the Echo Flower segment again? Like, that was just mean. And actually, that's when I, ended my watch of the stream, I think. And, at the end of the day, there wasn't too many new inclusions. I think it was, like, that one elevator, that one dog elevator and stuff, and the extra snow area. By the way, I didn't realize until someone pointed out that the dog elevator was in fact the sculpture that the Lester dog was working on. That went over my head completely, and that's so adorable. That was cute, and I love that Sans like having a new line for the elevator is like the first new line in like 10 years that we ever gotten from Sans in Undertale. That's so funny. So I decided that once the sand state was over, like the Grillby's thing, that I would go to bed. And I am glad that I didn't immediately like dip right after they said that they would have lunch or something. Because God, the fucking Spamton segment is... I thought I was already asleep when I was like watching this, because what the hell was that? Like the fucking French fry thing, it still fucking kills me all the time. When I was drawing like the scene for like the speed paints, I remember like trying my best to make it seem as French fry as possible. And God, it just looked so funny. I wish I could say more to it, but I remember just watching it with like the most weirded out expression ever, and I had to like hold myself back laughing because at this point I think it was already 2 to 3 a.m. or something, and my dad was of course asleep, and I just had to make sure that I didn't like wake him up because of that. So that whole thing aside, the next day I decided that okay, I'm gonna be at home on Sunday, and at this point, if I can get through 6 all-nighters for my animation school, clearly I can survive an all-nighter just to watch a goddamn stream. So I thought, at this point, of course, there's gonna be a bunch of new stuff going on again in the stream, so I'm just gonna stay awake. But of course, first I had to like catch up to what actually happened in the first stream. Thankfully, Fangamer immediately released the VOD for it, and... Guys, when I saw on the TL that apparently the fucking door appeared and then just saw it actually in the VOD, I wanted to scream so loudly, especially because of the color change of the goddamn door. This is the funniest shit ever, man. God, I have a mutual who I was like who was like asking what was so weird about the stream, because to him it just seemed very strange, and I like tried to explain it as autistically as I could, and it just made me seem like a fucking madman trying to explain the fucking build up to why this was insane and why it was so disrespectful of Toby to just walk past it. Okay, I'm saying Toby, it was Charlie. I think the guy who was playing it was Charlie, but still, it's like the way my fucking heart sank throughout all of this, it's just so funny. So I had to catch up to the rest of the stream, and one thing that I really liked watching was definitely the Hotland aspect, where you can like see the hanging building houses on like chains. That is something that I thought was like an actually really amazing inclusion to like the background of the game. We'll talk about this more later, but if I had to think of one single thing that I would love to have it updated, it's that extra houses in Hotland, because I think for Snowden and Waterfall, it's very easy to see where the houses are because you see the houses. But in Hotland, the only place that you actually see someone living there is literally Alphys, if I remember correctly, so... Unless every single person is living like in a hotel, there's like zero indication of people actually living in Hotland. So I think that like additional like aesthetic to it was very good to like look at. Like, sure, the panorama thing in the ruins is a little sad that you couldn't get into in the original, But I feel like it still gives you an idea. Okay, this is where they live. In Snowdin, you see the houses, even the ones that you don't get access to. This is where they live. The waterfall, you see the house of Undyne and all that. It's just scattered across waterfall, even if you don't get direct access to it, and that's fine. Hotland, I think, is the only place where I would say it kind of needs that little hint that people live there at all, and that's like the only thing where I feel like it was like kind of necessary. It's also such a cool idea. It's like a, I don't know, the idea of like tree house type of living situations have always been really fun to me as an idea, and I'm calling it a tree house, but it's more like houses being in chains above lava. Like, that's so cool. Definitely not the safest way to live in an area, but you know, if the rent is cheap, the rent is cheap. You just gotta take it. You just gotta take it. I do have to make a little confession though. When I decided that I wanted to watch the second part of the stream, I opened my laptop, not my laptop, my drawing tablet as like a second monitor, and then have it extended so that I'd have the Undertale stream on my main desktop screen, and then have Twitter and my snippet tool, because what the fuck are shortcuts for screenshots, right? I have my snippet tool on the tablet screen, so that the moment that something would happen with the dinner scene, I'd have the program open of the scene that changed Sans thumbnail open, so that if something happened there, I'd have the immediate access to start drawing some shit that would be in reference to it, to like have a joke thumbnail for like a day, just in reference to the stream. But unfortunately, and I can't believe that I say this, unfortunately the scene stayed exactly the same. Like, I tweeted out, like, I swear to God, if there's gonna be some bullshit, I'm just gonna cry or something. And I don't know what's worse. Because on one side, the scene obviously means a lot to me in terms of like the implied lore about Sans. But the fact that they didn't even talk about this much, aside like Toby going that this is a good story, it's like, I mean, I agree. But could you like add a little bit more to it? Like Sans's feelings about this? Maybe some small indication about how Frisk feels about this whole situation or something? I don't know. Maybe something about Toriel or something? No! That's the only sentence he gave me, and for some reason, that's somehow worse than if Spamton was getting a blowjob or something. I don't know. I just needed something from that scene, man. It's like... Somehow them just kind of ignoring it in the stream is like, that was somehow worse. I don't know, man. So I just came back from snacking, and I just realized I completely forgot about talking about Noel in Snowdin, and I think a lot of us collectively just started screaming when she was there, and I purposefully didn't open like the stream chat. I didn't look at that at all, because I had a feeling that if there's like a delay or something on the stream or something, I didn't want like the chat to like spoil me on what was happening, so I like intentionally just decided not to look at it. But apparently a lot of people just went, address me the entire time, like the fucking elephant in the God, I loved seeing that on the timeline on Twitter later. Just the amount of like posts about the goddamn elephant in the room. God, that just killed me. It's so funny. Anyway, so the fact that the dinner scene was like completely normal got me a little bit it got me a little sad, but at the same time, originally I had the snippet tool open mostly just to see, just in case my Echo Flower submission was like there, but it ended up not being there, so that's fine. I'm okay with that. Actually, just to be genuine for a second, just seeing these submissions on the Echo Flowers, like, even though mine didn't show up, there was something really special about seeing everyone's there. Although, I will say, I was kind of coping with the idea that, okay, the moment that one submission shows up, clearly the chance of mine showing up at some point needs to, like, get higher, right? Like, statistics and stuff. Like, if one disappears, then of course one would appear or something. I was working on that kind of statistical calculation. Except I started noticing that some started to repeat, and that is when my heart sank, and I just decided, okay, I just gotta come to terms. Mine's not gonna show up. and that's completely fine. Anyway, to continue the rest of it, the rest of the stream, just to summarize it a little bit. Just watching the whole thing. First of all, when going to New Home, God, that was so funny. I was already like, for some reason, I was like super tense after the dinner scene just had literally nothing. So I was like, okay, is the joke now that there's like literally nothing happening on the stream anymore? And of course, in New Home, they just walk past a new pathway that would of course lead to the new area of New Home, and it was like, wait, go back! I think this was just the entire stream. The entire stream was just me mentally and physically going, go back, what the hell? Address me, god damn it. I think that was then where a lot of the extra things started to show up, or for like the extra things about Sans, and for like the extra achievements because of the charity, their milestones, and that was really, really fun to see. I will say that the extra things with Sans was something that I didn't actually really expect that much. I mean, I know that there were like goals and stuff, but at the same time, I wasn't really sure what to expect of it. And of course, the highlight for me, I mean, you saw it. I think it's not a big surprise to say that my favorite part is the Sans Pacifist fight in the entire stream. Like, that one just... God. The first time was like, it was Sans versing and stuff, and that already in itself was really cool. Got a lot of people talking about Sans and Alpha's shenanigans again, which was fun. We'll talk about that later again, I guess. But the Sans Pacifist fight in and of itself, like, that is such a... I don't think I quite got the gimmick when I was watching the stream. Like, I wasn't quite sure... I don't think I quite understood what was happening on the stream. And I was also mostly extremely distracted because the instant I saw the fucking baby girl post that Sans just posted, like, I had my snippet tool ready for something completely irrelevant, but the moment that I saw that, my neurons just exploded, and the entire mission at this point in my head was screenshot it right now. Just fucking right now. I need this in my gallery. Fuck, what genuinely, my brain just was running on like fucking gasoline or something the moment I saw that. So, and just immediately posted it. Like, you can tell when I'm excited about something if I don't even bother to like type anything. If I just post the tweet with the image in and of itself and don't even bother to give it a caption. Fuck future me who wants to look it up again or something, because I'm never gonna figure out how to search that up again later on. But it's like, God, my brain was just fried when I saw that. It's very funny because I think every single person ever gives Sans this pose at least once. Like, I think I drew something similar to that pose when the queen died. You know, the Tumblr Sexter Man tournament. Like, I wasn't too in the fandom anymore, but, you know, out of nostalgia, I decided to like sketch something about that, and I had him in that pose. And I remember like seeing a lot of people putting him in that pose. So actually seeing like a semi-canonical depiction of it just had me fucking fried, man. It's like, it's legit one of my favorite, it's legit the favorite image of Sans right now, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get over that. It is so good. It's like I've drawn it like twice at this point, and I think neither of them completely capture the... Just look at him. I don't care if I have to edit it in. I don't care how limited I wanted the video to be edited. I need you to look at him and to just have that be burned into your brain. I don't know at what part in your brain it needs to be burned into. I'm just gonna let it burn into every single surface of the brain. Just look at him. Look how fucking smug he is about it. And of course, for the entire stream, I started to just screenshot every single time his post changed. And God, honestly, when he started doing like this swing thing, it didn't occur to me until afterwards that this was the fucking jitterbug dance or something. Maybe it's because it was like so janky that I just didn't quite clock it in. It's not my favorite GIF of Sans, but at the same time, it's also like so goddamn funny. And for the record, I have beaten the Sans Pacifist web version of it. I have actually done it by now. I hopefully you can see it in the Subway Surfer section of this video as well. But you can also tell that it took quite a long time to actually do it consistently. Like, God, the first problem that I had was first getting the gimmick properly at the first, and then it took me quite a while to actually get through the first two, and then that was fine. And then the third one took me forever until I realized that I was overthinking it, and that I just needed to move when the bone wasn't present, which, duh, just move. But for some reason, it just wasn't working for such a long time. And of course, because it took me a while to even get to this point, I didn't have enough time to, like, actually practice the fourth one, which was, what the fuck is that? That is just such a fucking clusterfuck of a pattern. The hell is that? It genuinely, looking at that, reminded me of all these fan games that you would see that were, like, hard as balls just for the sake of being hard as balls. And then, of course, the fifth one. The fifth one is honestly not that hard. Like the final one, like, it looks very hard, but then you realize how fucking generous the hitbox is. Like, you can land on the individual bones pretty easily. What is not generous is how I don't remember if this was in the Genocide of Sands as well. But when pressing upwards and still be and like hitting the ground, I didn't realize that you would have still a double jump or something, and that would throw me off if I like pressed on it just a little too long. That it would misposition me whenever I did that by accident, and the double jump would always screw me over the most. And God. But it was worth it. Like, if just going through this entire thing, like, as long as I got to, like, see my boy just pulling the baby girl pose all the time, like, for, like, I didn't even count this time how many tries it got me. Definitely not as long as Genosans, but it's like, it is still, like, surprisingly hard as balls. And of course, when I complained about it, when I tweeted about it, of course, there was someone who was like, hey, this looks easy as hell. So I gave, like, the link, yeah, sure, get humbled, fucker. And then, of course, they did it, like, two tries. What the fuck is difficulty anymore? There's always gonna be some one fucking asshole who's just gonna be able to do it right away. That's what's power scaling. That's the whole thing that it feels like whenever someone talks about, like, difficulty in video games. Fuck Sans, fuck Undyne, fuck Spamton, fuck Jevil or something. Something. There's always going to be some bastard who does it, like, really, really quick. I'm sure there's going to be some fucking asshole in the comments who says, like, the night took me, like, 3 tries. What are you on about? Like, it's... What the fuck is difficulty anymore? Some of you are actually on crack, alright? I think the thing that gets me the most is how Charlie got through this, like, on his second try or something. So, that's a little embarrassing. But, anyway, just to summarize, I did it. It took a minute, but I did it, and I'm not gonna... I'm looking at this proudly, all right? I'm not letting anybody take that away from me. I can do it now. There's honestly not that much to say for the rest of it. While I was like snacking and stuff, I had like a lot of thoughts, but then the moment I decided to sit down, it just evaporated, and that's just the consequence of me not doing this video right after the stream. But at this point, you just gotta roll with it. And I mean, the only thing that happened afterwards, I think, after like the fight and stuff, was the True Lab, and even there was like an inclusion of, I think someone figured out it was a Photoshop of Scott Coffin or something, like the guy from that did FNAF or something. And it's like, how do you discover this? Like, I know this is like the Undertale fandom who looks like a stray pixel and makes a whole fucking theory video surrounded on that. This is an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. And but still, it's like, how do you discover? How is this so imprinted into your subconscious that you can exactly recall that right off the bat? That is a skill in and of itself, and it's funny. It is so hilarious. Anyway, we get towards the end of the stream, and of course, there's the whole thing going on between Togor and Chara. And as funny as it was, I am glad that Chara won. And as funny as it would have been for it to be Togor in the end, I do think it turned one of those the scene into, I think, one of the most unforgettable parts about the stream in and of itself. The slight dialogue change in Azrael's fight about him not wanting to grow up without them, how it's been so long without them already. Like a little side tangent. When I was watching the fight, for some reason, I don't know if I was like drinking water or something, or if like I was zoning out or something, but I completely missed the dialogue change that was happening. But it was, once I saw it, it was like so beautiful. I do think that people need to make sure to not be too hung up on the wording, because first of all, this is a Undertale stream that had like a bunch of mods put into it, so I wouldn't necessarily take everything completely canon anyway. But and it was more for the charity event anyway. But if I remember the quote correctly, because I needed it for a post I did, there is an indication in the fourth bubble, like he says, like, it can't have been a year already, it can't have been 5 years already, it couldn't have been 10 years already, it couldn't have been ... And there is almost like a little bit of an indication that it may have been longer than 10 years. So this does kind of make you think about how much longer it would have been, what the indication is. And I need people to be open to the possibility that it might be longer, and not dogpile on anybody who might be interpreting it as longer than 10 years, because you know someone is going to take that as a screenshot and be like super annoying if someone has like an interpretation or something where its indication is that between Frisk and the death of Azrael and Chara is like much longer than 10, and someone's like, actually this stream indicated that it's only been 10 years, so excuse me, you're completely a fucking R word for thinking that it's been longer. You fucking fanon obsessed. I cannot say that word, but you know what I mean. Like, that's the annoying part a little bit, where you definitely know someone is going to cherry pick some things and make it seem like 100% canon. And honestly, the same thing goes for a little bit for Soriel. I'm gonna jump a little bit. I'll go back to the Azrael fight again. But as much as I love the scene at the end with Sans and Toriel like sleeping at the end, like we're back to back on their backs or something. As much as I love that, I need people to understand that there is so many different ways you can interpret certain things, and to be okay with the idea that maybe it's okay to look at this as just friends just being so comfortable together to just sleep. I'm of course going to look at it romantically because I am biased as shit, but I'm also never going to call this canon as well, right? Yeah, until it's like literally slapped in your face. We'll have a talk about that in a second, but going back to the Azrael stream, I think the single best thing that happened in this entire segment is Toby talking about Chara. And this is a small thing. I've seen that a lot of people see Toby saying there's one person left to save, Chara, with that pause as an indication that Frisk is supposed to save not just Azrael but also Chara. And that's a good interpretation too, but when I read the sentence with that pause, I thought that he was talking about Chara saving Azrael. That's how I saw it. And I think the thing that makes this interesting, that regardless of which way you interpret it with the phrasing, I do wonder if Toby did that a little bit on purpose, that it's not clear what exactly he's talking about. But the one thing that it does confirm almost 100%, that Chara is there. That whether Chara is with Frisk and Frisk is asking them to save Chara, to save Azrael, or if it is Toby telling Frisk to save Chara within Azrael, or whatever, however do you look at it, the fact that it's acknowledged that Chara is in fact there is actually extremely huge. Because I think there's always been like this massive conversation, like, is Chara actually around, or is it all just Frisk and no one else? Like, is Chara a thing or not? And while I don't necessarily think it necessarily confirms Chara, it does confirm that Chara is with us. And it's not just a Jenna run, it's also during the Pacifist. And it's like, there is something extremely beautiful to think that Chara is present in the saving of Asriel. Like, I remember thinking about that sometimes offhandedly, but of course never like this directly. And having this character who's barely in the story, who quite frankly is a good application to haunting the narrative sentence, and just having it acknowledged by Toby in such a beautiful way, like the little chocolate comment is so adorable, and I am so glad that honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Toby really was the person to like donate, because imagine him having this beautiful moment and it was with fucking Togor. Like, I think it would have taken all of us out a little bit. And look, as much as it did piss me off a little bit that my thing didn't show up, seeing all the submissions and not papyrus. Why am I saying papyrus? The way that Toby brought up how great it is to see all these submissions of talented artists going on their pixel art and pouring the love out, and how proud he is of us. It's like, God, I felt like, considering what I just talked about, my artistic journey with Undertale specifically, it's like, I don't have role models a lot. I honestly, when it comes to like idol or something like that, when it comes to like looking up to creators and stuff, I don't really have this kind of mentality. And to be honest with Toby, I am very cautious with that as well. But it did actually feel like someone I look up to, like being genuinely proud of me. And you know, I know he's talking about everyone's not individually to me. He's talking about everyone as a group, but just knowing that I am part of that, and that he's somewhat addressing me as well in an indirect way. It's like, I felt like crying, man. I'm not ashamed to admit, I felt like fucking bawling for a minute, and I don't know why I didn't, but I really felt it almost coming, man. It's like, God, it really got to me so bad. It was beautiful. Yeah, like the whole ending segment and just showing off the other people's pixel art was so great. And I think the best part was like afterwards, like the part with Sans having like another like a third round or something. Like after the whole mini game, I knew there wasn't gonna be like a big fight, but I was still curious what he was gonna do. And honestly, it was funny. The hug, like the being actually like a whoopee cushion joke, like it was funny. But honestly, I was a little pissed because I was like genuinely like cheering, like, oh my god, we finally get the Sans hug. We finally have a sprite for it. And of course, it's like the barest minimum kind of animation to just have them like stand way too close to each other. Like, okay, sure, let's have the most beautiful like little hug with Asriel. It's not like we already have a pixel or something that shows Frisk hugging somebody, but of course we're not just gonna use it for them actually hugging Sans or something. Like, of course, just play with my heart like that. Anyway, the walk back in general was just really cute, especially like the nuzzle thing. Maybe I was being a little delusional in my Sans girl thing, but for some reason I thought that the nuzzle thing would also include like Sans for whatever reason. Like, I wanted to see what would happen there, but it was generally like adorable, especially with Toriel. It was the way she like had to kneel down in order to do that nuzzle thing. I do think it was a bit of a missed opportunity to actually have Frisk themselves also move. Like, something that always made me a little sad about Undertale is that Frisk clearly is their own character, but I feel like there is little opportunity to actually show that a bit more directly, because a lot of it is like within implications. Like, some of it is like the narration, but the narration isn't 100% always reliable, and Frisk just has this one sprite constantly, and while it is funny, it is a good sprite. It's very iconic, it's very funny, but I feel like this could have been an opportunity to like flesh out Frisk just a tiny bit, and I know it's like, it's not necessary, and I feel like it would not have helped like the discussions online and stuff, but I feel like it would have been a very cute little implementation to just show just a tiny bit of like proper characterization that is a bit more direct, other than the fact that they don't fucking like soda, which is again something that you just have to really look out for in order to even notice. I think it would have been nice if there was something a little bit more direct about Frisk, but that's a nitpick. That's really just a really small thing. At the end, you can definitely tell that Toby doesn't really want to confirm literally anything about Frisk, and that's fine. Speaking of canonicity, obviously Toby started to address, like, all these things are, of course, not gonna be updated and stuff, and, you know, it's a little sad, but, and I will start talking about it in just a bit, but the way he phrased it was, like, it was so, like, how did he say it? Like, it's not that he didn't want to show things that were, like, completely... It's not that he wanted to show a world that we'll never have access to. What he wanted to show was a version of what it could look like, and that everyone should have the opportunity to think about how these people live in this world all together, and to have the chance to walk behind the wall with him, to imagine and see what the world is beyond our imagination. And I know we'll talk about this in a bit, but I want to already just talk about how this affect. While I was like listening to it, it reminded me of Handplates. It reminded me of Undertale Yellow. It reminded me about all these fan projects. It made me remember Underverse. It made me all these fan comics that like expanded on everything. And I just had the like biggest smile on my face when I like heard that. Like it was like, was it a little sad? Yes, but at the same time, he is completely correct. Like, so many people already expanded on the underground so much. Like, to a certain degree, I did too with Dr. Megalo to a certain extent. And it's like, I like the idea that it's not about whether or not it's canon or not. It's about how it makes us feel connected to the world with it. And as an artist, that is such a beautiful sentiment to it. And this is where I'm going to start crashing out a little bit. I was thinking about making a proper script for this segment because I want to make sure that people don't misunderstand me when I have this talking point, but I also feel like this is such a personal thing that I feel like scripting it down would just be an insult to my emotions a little bit, if that makes any sense. So I hope I prepared myself mentally for this, because this is gonna be quite something. But okay, how do I put this in a way that doesn't make me misunderstood? So first of all, this whole thing is like, as already established, this video is way too late after the stream already happened, like 2 to 3 weeks ago. Maybe even 4, actually. I can't math. I don't want to math right now, but it's like, it's been a while, so maybe the sentiment has already changed by the time that this video comes, but I think when I heard that sentiment in the stream, I could already hear it, to be honest, how people were going to completely misunderstand it. And one thing I immediately saw on the TL, on the timeline on Twitter, is someone going, "Oh yeah, let's be lazy and just have everybody else figure out the content, so you don't have to do anything. That's great." And I think we all need to start having a little bit of a conversation about how we consume art. Like, maybe this isn't really a prevalent point anymore, but when I saw that, I remember, oh, I need to make this video at some point. It's a little late, but I still want to talk about this, because I think the art industry in general has... okay, this is a little side tangent. I think this has a little bit to do with how as to why AI art and stuff has gotten so prevalent in everybody's day-to-day kind of thing, because people have stopped respecting artistic integrity a little bit. I mean, the average person who's like not artistically coded, of course, they're not gonna give a shit as to why AI art is like bad or something. They're just gonna ask ChatGPT to like it generates something randomly and just be done with it, because they just don't care. And with corporations and stuff, they don't want to get people paid for it. They just don't want, they want to make sure that there's as little to pay for as well. There's also like a bunch of environmental hazards that go with AI, but I'm going to talk about it purely from a perspective of an artist and the relationship I have with art. Because I feel like some people are way better educated on me in terms of like its environmental problems and stuff. I'm going to talk about it purely from a professional and also personal connection to art. A lot of people, when they consume art, they don't want to consume art in and of itself. They want to consume content. And to a degree, I don't think that's always a bad thing. You can definitely differentiate between people who make art for the sake of expressing themselves and to like send a message and to just connect with people. And then when it's something like, I don't know, like Candy Crush or something, when it's just supposed to like stimulate you or something. And there's nothing necessarily bad about that, right? Sometimes you just want to consume something. Sometimes you're just not... Sometimes you don't want to engage in art in a meaningful way all the time. Sometimes you just want to do, I don't know, like a silly skeleton dance or something and not think about it too hard, right? I do think, however, that just because that type of art exists where the point isn't necessarily to be important, that I think some people, especially quote-unquote normies, do not understand that that doesn't apply to everything, right? And I think when it comes to artistic integrity, I think some people see art more as something to just produce and nothing more. That it's just supposed to be about producing something and it needs to just get out and to entertain and to be, you know, as unwoke as possible, because how dare you wanting to make it an actual statement on the politics nowadays. Like, how dare you having a voice or something in it. And want to implement some political commentary, like, I just want my giant boobs on my women that I want to objectify. How dare you, making me feel bad for wanting to jerk off to every female character. This you can tell this is something that is just a very prevalent problem. The reason why AI art is so prevalent is because people just don't care about art, right? And I know this might sound hyperbolic. I know this might sound like a really huge exaggeration in response to people not being disappointed that the extra areas are not being used in an update or something. And I understand that. To a degree, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic about it. But I think it comes to a point. I think there comes a point where I feel like you need to really think about for a second as to what that really says about you and personally how you connect with certain things. Because I feel like, let's be honest here for a second, Undertale doesn't need an update because Undertale, first of all, is an indie game. An indie game of 10 fucking years. And I think we need to remember that indie games are not like part of like a big corporations like a lot of animations are. Like, it's not Disney, it's not Pixar, it's not like where the whole job is to like have as many projects as possible with as many like censoring into it, where ideas get so watered down by like certain network criteria to like not piss off Christians or whatever. There's not that kind of restriction on that. It's a passion project. Indie projects are very often a passion project that sometimes can turn into something more corporate, right? It can sometimes turn into that. But indie animation and indie game development a lot of times are born from passion and wanting to go outside of what is the norm, right? And Undertale in particular was done by a college student in the basement of Andrew Hussey, who just wanted to figure out how to properly code a game after doing all these ROM hacks and music compositions of different projects and getting himself inspired to do a little project to like get himself to learn how to make a video game. That thing is Undertale. And the way that I see Undertale is to compare it to like one of your first drawings you do when you like do an art, right? Like just put yourself in the shoes of like if you're like 9 years old and you do an art. You do a drawing. And your friends are gonna like it a lot. Maybe there's a lot of talent to it as well. Maybe it's not gonna be necessarily a juggernaut of success like in the comparison of Undertale necessarily, but it goes well with your friends, it goes well with your family, it goes well with maybe even people around you who are very artistically skilled and can tell you, hey, you have some potential there. It's really good. But you also can acknowledge that some things are a little wonky. Maybe the eye could have been a better placed. Maybe the coloring is just a little saturated. Maybe the hand could have been just a tiny bit better adjusted. But overall, you can acknowledge that a lot of it is already extremely well done. Sure, some things are not necessarily 100% perfect, but it's good. It's great. And pretty much everyone you know loves it to death. And 10 years go by, and you want to, and by then you obviously have like improved, you have a good thing going, and then you look at that first drawing, and it's like, sure, people love to redraw their drawings once in a while. That is a thing for people do. But I think doing an update just for the sake of polishing Undertale to like an extreme degree is to me the same. It's not quite the same thing as redrawing it. It's as if you were going into the actual paper that you used for that drawing, like the drawing itself, and decided to draw on top of it to fix it. And I just need you to understand that that is a fucking waste of time when you could start a different drawing that you learned that you can like apply a lot of things to that you now learned across these years where you are an artist. And that is, so from my perspective, Deltarune. I want you to understand, I don't know Toby, I don't know the guy in a personal way, I'm just talking from an artist perspective, and the way I see it is that Deltarune, in a lot of ways, already expands on certain things, just not in a very direct way where it applies to Undertale directly, necessarily. I made a whole fucking video about this, but to put it bluntly, like the fact that these two have so much in common is not a coincidence. But something to also understand is that Toby is very intentionally, most likely, using Deltarune as a way to expand on Undertale while also implementing new things in order to really improve as a storyteller and as a game developer as well. To a certain degree. I mean, he has a whole fucking team, so it's not just him anymore. But you know what I mean. And when you have something as generationally defining as Undertale, like, I think I'm allowed to say that. Like, I don't think it's a bias. I don't think it's necessarily a biased opinion to say that. Undertale has become a fucking modern classic in terms of gaming. But, it just needs to still be acknowledged that Undertale in and of itself is a passion project. It was his first trial, and it was his first real go at a proper story that is completely original. Well, original in very heavy quotation marks. There's obviously a lot of, like, tons of references, tons of influence to a point where it is... God, it was so funny to see, like, this one reference picture of, like, apparently what Asgore's armor is based on, and it's, like, almost 1-to-1. It is so funny. Toby is so good at mixing a bunch of inspirations together and mesh them together in a way that somehow it becomes original again. It's so... He's actually extremely skilled at making unoriginal stuff into something original. It is actually impressive. I think someone called him, like, the most unoriginal person ever, and I think that's a really good summary of it all. But to summarize, I think it's important to acknowledge that for Toby, Deltarune is the real story that he wants to tell, and that Undertale was, like, the benchmark to really get this feeling going that he's able to do this. This was his trial run. A very surprisingly successful trial run, but a trial run nonetheless. And that doesn't necessarily devalue Undertale. Undertale is incredibly well done in terms of its story, in terms of its unique battle system that it's been implemented. Like, maybe not everything is in 100% original, but like a good chunk of it is like, at least kind of how it combines like acting and also like the bullet hell within turn-based combat, which just makes the turn-based combat system a lot more interesting to work with. It's not just a button mash and stuff. And yeah, sure, you can like say that certain things in the story could have been fleshed out more a tiny bit. There's always something that you could have improved on. But as a whole, like, even to this day, like, my brother played it recently, and sure, it's not his favorite game in the world, because that's Monster Hunter, but but the first rating he gave it was like an 8 out of 10 when he played neutral, then 9 out of 10 when he played pacifist, and then a 10 out of 10 the more he thought about it. And it's like, the fact that this game still is seen as such a good experience even after like 10 years. At this point, I feel like making an update like that is purely just to have like more content, right? And don't get me wrong, I think having more canon stuff to it could be fun, but at the same time, I feel like, especially the things that were actually shown in the stream, I don't think would have elevated the story that much. And this is where I'm gonna go into a little bit of like nitpicking a little bit about why I personally am completely fine with it not being included, and maybe even glad it isn't. For the record, what I'm about to say, you are completely free to disagree. This is just a personal perspective on things, but the way I've experienced the stream, like, I talked about half an hour ago, where I just, like, clenched my sheets when I saw that there was an extra area in the new ruins. And of course, the extra little thing about Gerson and the magician that he apparently had a relationship with, or implied to, is like, I mean, it is incredible lore draw, but if I'm going to be completely honest for a second, while I was watching it, like, watching it all in retrospect, like, I watched it again at some point, I don't think it would have really added much to the actual experience of Undertale, all that much. I'll talk about the other areas again as well, but if you look at the placement of where it was put, like, the terrace thing, like, yes, it's beautiful, and yes, this was where I said that I would want a extra area. I mean, I've said as many times myself that I would want there to be an extra area, but when I was watching the stream, I realized that the placement of it is a little odd, because you go through the entire ruins area and, you know, meet monsters and all that, but then the city itself is a little bit to the side, like out of the way of Toriel's home itself. And so if you like played like the first round or something and you go into the city, I feel like I think it would balk the pacing a little bit if you're meant to go there, especially if the toy knife is actually like placed in the area. Like, sure, you could like maybe organize it in a way that makes it a bit more livable, and maybe there could be more monsters, but as of how it's presented in the stream, I think it was actually implemented. I think it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to have it all that much, because I mean, from what we could see, it didn't really add that much in terms of new content, and even if they did add it, it was literally just to like expand just a tiny bit on the world building. And even if it did, a lot of things are already kind of implied in the original text, so I feel like it would just add just a little bit more content, but at the same time, it doesn't really serve much to the actual story in and of itself. It's just more world building elements, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying like adding extra lore bits is necessarily bad, but I don't think it would serve the story too much, and it's just fan service. Yeah, like, that's all it really would be. It would be just extra fan service to me personally. And in terms of like the story, I just feel like it wouldn't elevate it too much. It would just serve a little bit to the aesthetic, of course, but that's kind of it. Snowden, I feel like, yes, the extra area where you can actually talk to the guy who's like living in the woods or something that you can see from the distance, that's cute. That's adorable, I will say. I will say that. And the dog elevator is fun. But at the same time, it's again completely out of your way, and Giftron in itself is already kind of out of your way, so it feels like you're just adding an entirely new area with like not much going on for kind of no reason anyway. So it feels like, yes, it's like extra dialogue and stuff and some extra walking space, but that's kind of it. There could be more stuff. I'm not gonna deny that there could be in another update or something, but as it was presented, I feel like it's fine to just not have that. I think at the end of the day, it was more like a detour. And I feel like Undertale in particular has a very interesting pace to it. Like, yes, if you play it over and over, you realize how fast the pace is, but it's in terms of your first run and how you play it. Like, and whenever I play Undertale, at least, I never feel like the pacing is like terrible in of itself. Like, I know some people really hate the fucking pacing of Hotland because of the phone calls with Alphys. I always love listening and reading Alphys' text and stuff, but if you like play it over and over, then yeah, it gets a little annoying in some places. But the pace of Undertale is generally really quick. And small side tangent, I think time in video games is just something that you have to just suspend your disbelief in a little bit, because I feel like in terms of storytelling, it's like really difficult to sometimes make pacing feel natural if you abide by the rules of the universe all that much. So I feel like it's just one of those things you just have to like accept that this is just outside of the realm of realism and just go with the flow a little bit. Like, yes, this is taking place in a single day, and it's a little bit of a fucking roller coaster to think about it that way. But yeah, I think in storytelling, something you just have to just come to terms to just give up on that kind of thing, because you just have a restriction to it. You just have these restrictions, and I feel like even if there was a day added because of the MTT resort or sleeping over at the thing, I feel like it doesn't add that much more. You still are not interacting with the characters that much, even if you do spend another extra day or something. So Undertale has this particular pace to it that I feel like having this extra area doesn't really add much, except to like, have a open world kind of feel almost, and I feel like that's just not the kind of story that Undertale is. The placement of the underwater section and waterfall in particular was a little odd. Like, was I glad that the onion sand section is a little bit more interesting because I kind of fucking hate onion sand? Yes, sure, it's kind of cool. At the same time, though, I don't have the sprite in front of me, but I remember thinking that the aesthetic doesn't quite fit with the rest of the waterfall area that much. Like, props to the pixel artist who worked on it. Of course, it still looks incredible, but it just didn't quite work with it. And also, it's just in between areas, I feel like. So I know I complained before that it's like out of your way and stuff, but this one in particular I feel like is a bit more bothersome because it's not particularly close to anything to like actually go back to easily, like or like be easily memorable to go back to necessarily. Like, yes, if you remember where it is, you can like go to the bird that carries you over the disproportionately small gap, sure, but it's like it's a little difficult to find if you don't quite remember where it is. So it's still out of your way a little bit to even get back to if you don't explore everything. Now, you don't have to go back to it. You can just look for the ones and stuff. But considering how the characters do have a dialogue, if you like go back to it in some way, it's a little bit of a shame as to where it's placed, I think, personally. I feel like if it really there has to be another area in Waterfall, it would be better to be placed next to like the area where Undyne is. So you'd have like a more incentive to like explore it because it's like really close by. Maybe you like want to get some more information about Undyne herself and stuff. But as is right now, I feel like the way it's put in the game, I feel like it's a little inconvenient personally. And then there's Hotland, where there's only like 2 things that are extra, which one of them is like the chained houses, which again, that is the one thing that I would want in an update that is like extra. It actually like serves the world building a bit more, because you can actually like see where the fuck these people actually live in Hotland, but that's about it. The school I mean, it's a fun little aesthetic, I guess, but to be honest, I didn't quite like that too much, all that much as an idea. Like, sure, in the stream was it fun, yes, but think about actually just playing the game and just having an entire segment where it's just an anime school cutscene. Like, that would bother me personally. Like, who the fuck wants to go back to school? I don't. Why would you go put that in a game? I don't want that. I'm not a fucking Persona fan. I don't want that, please. I'm kidding, but in general, I feel like the pacing there particularly starts to get a little boggy as well. Like the mini games that is going on with like the extra stuff with Metaton in general are like they are a bit time consuming. But I also felt like this was a little out of character from Metaton. Like, yes, Metaton is like doing all of this in theme of like TV shows and all that, but I also had the impression of the diaries that Metaton isn't particularly a huge fan of anime, kind of like Papyrus. So to me, it would have been funnier if it turned out to be like an extra idea that Alphys had to like sell the ruse and wanted there to be like an anime episode, and Metaton like abandoning the set or something because he was just not gonna do that or something. To me, at least, that would have been a little bit more in character, but in the stream, it was still funny. I mean, what was it, Metakun or something? That Metachan? I don't remember, but it was very funny. I mean, I won't deny it. It was funny, but playing it through myself in the game, like putting my head into it, it's just, I don't know if I want that. Not gonna lie, and like having the extra school area, like, okay, I guess there is a school. Like, it would have been fine to have, like, as a background aesthetic or something. I don't know why we need a school area. Like, as an extra area, okay, sure, would have been interesting, but at the same time, it's like, I just feel like it's just unnecessary. It's like, it doesn't really do much more other than just having extra stuff that I feel like it's just not benefiting the story too much, aside from, again, world building purposes. And even then, it's like, okay, there's an extra area and people go to school. Great. Now let's keep moving. And then there is New Home, and this is a very personal, maybe nitpick for me personally. I feel like I understand why the castle in and of itself is gray, because it reflects Asgore's whole feelings. Why does the entire town in itself, however, need to be gray as well? I feel like the gag of the one guy like painting his house is so real, because give me that paintbrush. I want to paint the town myself a little bit. At the same time, though, there also wasn't much going on in the New Home as well, and I feel like at this point, the story is very clearly more about Asgore and the Undertales, I think. So instead, personally, what I would have done, if there really has to be an update where there's extra houses, I think what I personally would have done is that the Undertale segment, when they tell you the story, is actually inside of the city. I would have just replaced the walk a little bit of the floor with the actual connection to the to the actual New Home. And then once the music dies and everyone has told the story, maybe you can like go back and go to the areas that maybe were blocked off by another monster or something, and then you can like explore it a little bit just before you get to Judgment Hall or Last Court or whatever. And I feel like just having also a direct entrance to the actual castle in and of itself, I think would have been good to like implement. But other than that, I feel like it doesn't really add too much to it. That's the only thing I would maybe do with the new area. But as of how it's presented in the stream, I don't think it's well implemented personally. And the only way that I would want these to be implemented is if the only way you access it is after the Pacifist run as a walkback. Because in the walkback, you can justify why you can now access these areas. For example, in the ruins, you could argue very easily that maybe Toriel doesn't want you to get lost in the ruins, or maybe get attacked by more monsters who obviously want to still hunt humans even within the ruins themselves. Maybe she's like blocking off the path so that you don't get lost in there. That would also like negate the need to have the genocide run to account for these areas as well, because then it's like, oh, you don't need to go in there because it's not important, and have like the knife be on the terrace still or something. I would keep the knife there, I think. something. Then the Snowden, you could like argue that maybe there was like a mandate from like the royal guard or something, so that not everyone can like go to these places or something, and maybe there would be a funny gag where someone wants to like go home or something, but they don't let him because he's seen as a threat because he vaguely looks like a human, and then he doesn't look like a human at all or something. That'd be funny. The waterfall, you could like say, oh, everyone is afraid of Undyne, and so you can't really access, and also it's underwater, so it's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to visit me? Unfortunately, you don't have gills or something. And then when you walk by, it's like, oh, wait, we can just give you a bubble. So come and watch what's going on. I feel like it would add a little bit of like this final walk back where you finally see, oh, so that's what everyone is leaving behind now. This is now the world that is getting empty. This is the world that you traversed. And now as a reward for being, a good person, you get to see what the rest of the underground is actually like, and then have this extra thing, including Gerson, to have this extra bit of lore, because now you kind of earned it, because you have shown that you are interested in this world. That's why it wouldn't really work for Genocide, because the Genocide is completely about you wanting to abandon the way this world works. It's about you abandoning wanting to get this world to know better. So, in contrast, when you finally do get to the pacifist ending, you are rewarded with seeing the entire underground for what it is, and get a final last goodbye. That's the only way I think it could personally work, and also would give the opportunity to still have the nuzzling thing. I still love that. I would actually still want that, but to put my point across, I think the extra areas are fun in theory. But the way they're implemented, as far as I could see in the stream, I feel like the only thing it would serve is just extra fan service, but it wouldn't really serve much purpose to the story and Undertale as a whole in and of itself. I think you need to work around it a little bit. And I mean, I think it's still good that you have like an extra website where you can like have a semi-canon fight with Sans that's like pacifist version. To go back on that a little bit, can I just say how fucking genius that fight is in and of itself? Like, I know I talked about it already, but like the whole gimmick of it being that you don't have to actually kill, that they don't actually get damage from the fight at all, but instead is all about trying not to accidentally flee from the fight, is such a good idea. I don't know if someone already had come up with it, or if someone like implemented an early idea into the stream as a fan, because a lot of the modders were like, hired for that, I think, or whatever. I don't know if they like took that from like a fan game concept or something, but it is such a good idea that I hadn't seen before, and it's actually it is like, this is such a perfect Sans fight in general. And also shout out to the person who made the track. What was it called? The song that plays when you verse Sans or something. It was called that. I don't have the artist name in my mind, but I remember this is such a perfect way to turn Megalovania into a Sans track. Like, I personally see Megalovania as Sans track already, in terms of Undertale specifically, at least. I personally see it that way, but if it has to be, if Megalovania has to be repurposed in a way that it really is Sans aesthetic, this is definitely the way to do it. I love this so much. If there's one reason to still play the thing aside from like the baby girl pose from Sans, it's that theme. I love listening to it. It is such a good remix of it. Well, remix, I like the cover of it. It is so perfect. It's great. I love it so much. The second thing I feel like, I don't necessarily think, I don't know if it's necessarily in the same conversation that people had about it, but I don't think the Gaster door needs to change its color for like an update, because first of all, not everyone's gonna get the door unless you like manipulate it. So if someone just casually plays it or something and wants to get into it after like watching the stream or something, they're not gonna get the fucking door anyway. It's a fun value event. Yeah, so have putting all this effort for like a change for that, it's just not gonna serve anything. And let's be real here, even when you do change the room, there's not gonna be anything behind the door, because guess what? Deltarune is probably still in the process of establishing Gaster in the whole thing. What the fuck is the point of implementing even more Gaster shit into Undertale when this served as a setup and is finally starting to get paid off more in Deltarune? What the fuck would be the point of putting more in Undertale when it was already having so much setup to it in the first place? It's irrelevant. And even if in the alternative timeline where they did actually go into the door, you know damn well that the alternative would be just a different room, just completely unrelated to anything, unrelated to Sans or Papyrus or whatever, and it would just be the dog sleeping there. Let's be real here. If there was something behind the door, it was not gonna be plot relevant. So, to put my point across a little bit, like, I personally already don't think it's a good idea to update it, because I just don't think the way it is presented as of now would work with how Undertale is already done. And I also don't think there is a point to going back to it when, again, first of all, it's 10 years old. There's no reason for a remaster. Like, a remastering of Undertale, I feel like, is not really necessary. Like, not to discourage fan projects that want to, like, I think it was, what was it, Undertale Plus, that want to play around with, like, a different aesthetic or, like, changes. Like, I just generally don't think, in terms of its canon content, it is good the way it is, and not everything needs to have a remaster or a remake or a live-action reboot or something. Like, you can, just to get my point a bit better across, I think it's best to not look at art as something that has to contribute more content to it necessarily, and appreciate for what it is. Not everything needs a sequel. Not everything needs something that, like, supplements it further necessarily. Deltarune is something that supplements it further, but in a more unique way that makes it very indirect. And I think it's very well shown within the contents of it that this is what Toby wants to use to expand on it, but it's not necessary to supplement more on the actual canon of Undertale, because it's already good as it is, and everything else supplemented to it is gonna come from the fans, because we already have done so much to it that there is no point to do so anymore. Yeah, like, it's already good on its own, and the only changes that could be implemented are fan creations and stuff. And I think it's important to take what Toby says within sincerity. That I think he genuinely wants to encourage artists that have already, throughout these 10 years, done all this work. And, God, how do I phrase this in a way that makes me not sound like an asshole or something? But I think we put so much value in what is quote-unquote canon that we forget that there's a beauty to having different interpretations of things. That we have this beauty of trying to transform it in a way that makes it more fun, that gives it a unique identity to us and how we interact with it. Like, yes, with Dr. Megalo, I tried my best to include things from the canon, but of course there are a lot of things that I did with specifically the amalgamates that I of course took just pulled out of my ass because I thought it would be interesting, because I thought it would be fun to play around with the world building in a way that makes it more fun and create more opportunities. Because if you want to have something that is completely canon accurate to Undertale, it's gonna sound extremely dumb, but then if you want something completely canon accurate to Undertale, you play Undertale, because everything that you want about Undertale is in Undertale. And if you want to have more Undertale, then you need to be open to the possibility of different fan creations, different interpretations, and there is nothing devaluing about something being derivative of something, even if it doesn't follow it 100%. Just because it's not 100% canon doesn't mean it has no value. Just because certain things maybe don't line up necessarily in Undertale Yellow doesn't make it a bad fan game because of because it has so many elements to it that has such a unique flavor to it that makes it stand out together with Undertale. Like, I have, of course, my problems with it in terms of like how I personally view the writing, but you still need to acknowledge the amount of effort that was put into it. Same with TS Underswap, that decides to completely rewrite some things in a way that makes it fun. And while I personally felt like Undertale kind of dropped the ball on a lot of things, there is still some creativity in how it approaches it, how it wants to like look into things that are a bit more outside of the box, wanting to explore different angles to certain things. Not every fan comic is going to be 100% canon, but there's still a beauty to seeing how they reinterpret things in a different way. It's not for everyone, and of course, you want to see someone respect how the world is being done, but there's a certain fun to explore different options. Yes, Dusttale is a little edgy, and maybe not always 100% canon, but there's still something extremely fun in exploring a character in a different angle, and maybe even acknowledging that it's not the same character, and therefore using him as almost a template to explore a different type of character, like a different side to him. And sure, Sans has been a bit of a victim on that a little bit in a lot of ways, but imagine the amount of different characters that were also spawned from it, like Ink Sans, Arrow Sans, the other ones are kind of blanking out of my mind right now, but you know, you've seen the Undertale fandom. You know, there's like a myriad of different Sanses out there. And sure, some of them are more, you know, could have written a little bit better, but at the same time, there's a certain fun to wanting to explore them in different ways. And, you know, the whole universe of it all, the whole way of how you can reinterpret and Undertale in so many facets, it can be as big as you want it to be. Your imagination is literally the only limit to it. It's as big as your imagination will allow it to be. And I think you should allow yourself to explore it beyond what has been told, to not just value what Toby says, but to value your own creativity, to value your own desires of what you wish you would have happened instead, what you maybe thought could have been cooked a bit better, and have your own little fan fiction to look at this. You can create the world how you want it to be. And the phrase of, I invite you to walk behind a wall with me, will stick with me forever, because that, to me, as an artist, is so important to emphasize. That it's important to remember that you are wielding that pen and that you can create this world for yourself, and that isn't and it's not necessarily more valuable to what is canon or to what is real, because just because it's not real doesn't mean it holds no value. And I'm going to leave it at that banger line. Thank you for listening. I am pretty sure this recording is like 2 hours long. I really hope all the speed paints finally like fit in everything. Maybe I should talk about this just for a little bit. It was very funny that this whole redraw thing kind of started because of the Sans fight that I was trying to do. But I also wanted to like redraw the baby girl pose a little bit because I didn't quite like it how it was the first time. And I really like how it turned out. Just as one label that just says bastard, like that's just a cherry on top for me in general. In terms of like the Noel drawing, I was honestly surprised how many people love this one, because in terms of its rendering and the background, I actually feel like I kind of dropped the ball a little bit, because you can definitely see the line art and the painting itself, the paintings and stuff don't quite line up, and at the same time it was kind of on purpose, because I felt like I kind of wanted to do these very quickly so the speed paints themselves don't take like forever as well. And I love that the library is like so shittily written there. It's so fun. But in general, I still had a lot of fun with it, and especially to like make sure that the Noel is, of course, the important thing. Like no one else matters. Like the guy that I wanted to fucking scream when he said that. Sometimes I think about maybe posting the image without the 2 seconds old thing on it, but you know what? Actually, it makes it so much better because of it. I think the Gaster one is the one that I like the least among the drawings, just because I feel like in my head it was just so much more comical and the pose was more fun, but I also just couldn't quite make it look the way I wanted it to. And I don't know, for some reason, I just didn't want to expand his face more than it was in my head. Like, I didn't want it to be more expressive for some reason, which is weird because I'm apparently known as the person who makes, like, fun expressions and stuff, and I feel like I dropped the ball on that one a little bit. But it's still fun. And yes, sure, I could translate what he's saying there, but I love seeing people just having the brain rot inserted in them for such a long time that they can just read it without a problem, and then people just looking for answers in the replies, just realizing how fucking brain rotted people are. I love that. I still feel like I could have added a little bit more to it, but in terms of this vibe, it's also fun. I think it's also the most liked among all the anniversary drawings, which is funny. I think this one alongside the next one is with like the Spamton French, I think is my favorite, just because there's a little bit more movement to it. There's a lot more going on. There's nothing in the canvas that feels particularly empty about it. I love including like the Girlby sign there. I feel like I keep forgetting that it's a thing in the Girlby building and stuff. The bottles are all like copy pasted, and there's not a lot of effort put into them, but I feel like it does its job to establish it as a bar. And I don't know if this was like implied in the actual stream, but I like the idea that Frisk themselves is actually very happy about seeing Spamton be this chaotic thing. Like Frisk does come off as someone who loves chaotic stimulation or something. Yeah, like Spamton to me seems like someone that they would absolutely adore, I think. Meanwhile, Chara, maybe it's not necessarily in character all that much, but something about this contrast between Frisk being like kind of happy about it and Chara just being disturbed just feels good. And also, I want to emphasize the ass. Thank you for my TED Talk. The ass is, of course, important. I think I actually mistyped something. I think it should be wood chipper instead of wood chopper, but something about the chopper sound is funnier, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think it's funnier that way. And then there's the Frisk, Chara, Azrael drawing. I think this is definitely the best one, like in terms of the relevance to it. I think it's my favorite one just because of the composition of it and the coloring. Like, it was a little different than what I had planned in my head, and maybe the hand could be a little bit more emphasized on Frisk, but at the same time, I feel like I think it conveys very well the moment of acknowledging that Chara is part of the story and is the most important element to saving Azrael, I think. Like, I don't give a shit as to whether or not Chara or Frisk would even cry in this moment. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't care. This is an emotional moment, and I am expressing it the way I experience the story. I don't give a shit about what the actual canon of it would be. This is what it felt like, okay? The Hotland drawing, I feel like I could have done a little better. Like, I think I could have made the line art a bit more darker, just because I feel like the details get a little lost in the paintings and stuff. But at the same time, I really like this drawing, and I was gonna do another version of it where it's actually Dr. Megalo-centered, because got the idea of like a Frisk jumping on the buildings to avoid an amalgamate robot or something that's like in the form of what was it called? Everyman. And that would have been so fucking sick. And I still want to draw that at some point. But in general, I wanted to do this drawing just to like go into the spirit of fuck the canon sometimes. Just have fun with the concept in and of itself. And also, it's just fun because I don't draw Mettaton all that often. So the idea is, I just thought it was like a good way to like implement him into the drawing as well. With casual, canon is for casuals, darling. I just feel like it works well. And then I think the last one is the sketch canvas. I didn't really quite have an idea. Like, there were a lot of people who drew the New Ruins area, and I did consider drawing it, but I saw so many people drawing it already that I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on the other areas or other things I wanted to draw. Not that there was anything particularly wrong with it, but I remember I saw one in particular by, God, the name escapes me, because I followed them rather recently. But there was one drawing of I think my new favorite Undertale artist, and that just fucking made my jaw drop on the floor. And so I was like, I can't fucking beat this. I think I'm gonna just stick to what I actually think I'm capable of doing. So instead, I just settled for like the final one to be just a collection of all the little individual drawings that I wanted to do off the stream, but can't make a full illustration of, or want to particularly. Yeah, one of them being, of course, Gerson talking about their mage, while Frisk is not particularly thrilled of the kind of books that are actually put on the shelves. The radiation fox kind of a thing with the dog was also kind of funny that I wanted to implement. Of course, we have also Papyrus that legally is required to break a glass surface per day. Then of course the new date outfit. It's not that I don't think I drew it quite well as to how it's presented, but I think it's still good. I love the fact that he has a chef's hat in the date now. It's so cute. Also, it's like, I don't know what was cracked in the head with me on this, but why is this pose actually like really dynamic? That was not on purpose. Like, I don't know why I like locked in for that one specifically. Like, it's just a dumb sketch. Why is there so much dynamic to it? Like, why is this so shape and perspective? What? Then of course there's the Sans hug, which is like, yes, in the stream it was more comedic, but here I just wanted it to be what I actually expected, which is just a nice wholesome hug. I don't care. Then of course the nuzzle with Toriel, where I completely forgot to draw her tail. I don't know what is with me. Sometimes I just forget details like this, particularly like tails and stuff. Tails and freckles are two things that I frequently forget. One of those things also being the laces, but we'll get to that. Then I did the Sans and Toriel sleeping position again, but this time make it a bit more accurate to what it was in the actual sprite. Toriel has like bigger feet in this one because for some reason I just couldn't quite figure out the perspective on this, so she big feet now. And there I forgot to draw the lace on the Sans, but that's fine. He lost it in the void. That's fine. And just very last minute, I drew Togor there as well. I meant to draw him a lot sooner, but I kind of forgot while I was like sketching it. So I did it like last minute after I already like wrote stuff on the side. I just like the idea that Toby was starting to fucking panic, so was just pulling on the sleeve, hoping that Togor like goes away or something, and Togor is just too stubborn to leave. But yeah, I could have drawn probably a lot more, but in terms of what really stuck with me when watching the stream, I think I got myself out, and yeah, I think this last sketch means a lot to me. Like, they're not necessarily the best drawings I've ever made. They're very simple. They're not particularly complicated. And I think that's fine. Because at the end of the day, it's just to show my love for it. It's to show what stuck with me, what is going to stay in my memory, even though I really hate the fact that I forgot to fill in Undyne's eyebrow. That's gonna haunt me. But I really wanted to draw this to just show this passion of like just showing a bunch of things that I might not be able to necessarily make a whole illustration of it, but that doesn't matter. What matters is to really feel the love in every stroke when I was drawing them, and to really have it stick with me for pretty much the rest of time. And at this point, I want to start to actually finish the video properly. Thank you for watching or just listening to it. And yeah, I really needed Undertale in the times where I was very stressed, where I was alone and didn't really know what to do. So I'm pretty sure Toby doesn't listen to this. I don't think he's ever gonna watch this, but for everyone who is watching it, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Toby. Thank you for everyone in the Undertale team, and thank you for Deltarune. I can't wait to see what else it has in store, and I hope that even if there is a break in between, even if I end up losing my passion and need to come back to it at some point, no matter what I do, it's always going to follow me. This piece is always going to come along with me, and I hope I never get completely tired of it, and I don't know. I don't know how to end this in a more emotional way necessarily, but thank you so much for being part of my life. And I hope if I do leave it, I can come back to it again when I feel alone again. And I hope that whoever's watching this, that things are gonna be okay. Things are gonna be alright. And oh my god, I completely forgot. It's very, very last minute tidbit. I think it's very funny that Toby called the online date about the online date between Undyne and Alphys the tutorial on liking girls, because not gonna lie, I think this was like the first time I ever saw like an LGBT couple to actually be seen as normal, and I will always be grateful for that. Okay, bye.